science fiction. We make no guarantees, however, how long it will remain fiction. Fiction. Fiction.
Recurring salutations, Cognonox. Welcome to another episode of Exofathom. I will be your host tonight. I'm Mike, and always I'm joined with my two lovely co-hosts, Nick and Ayla. How y'all doing?
Hey, happy New Year's Eve.
Happy New Year's Eve.
Yeah, happy New Year's.
We're not
as well,
there
it's
yet.
New Year's somewhere, at least in the UK or something. I think they're
Always
That
in
is true.
Australia first, and I'm always like, dang, those fireworks look so cool. Just once I want to be in the future.
You are to like Hawaii.
That's true.
Nice.
Yeah. So tonight on this New Year's Eve, we're going to go through, this is part 2 of a 2021 in review. So we're just going to be hanging out, talking about the episodes we did last year, and probably getting into some meta conversations about podcasting as an art. So we all cool with that?
Let's go. I got
You
my
mean
tea.
we're-
I'm not drinking alcohol for at least an hour or so that I don't go to sleep. I'm good.
Don't worry. In that hour, I will drink more than
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I'm
It's a
so
sacrifice.
gonna steal a clip of just like, I'm great. I've got my tea.
Mhm.
What kind of
And make that
tea?
something.
What kind of tea are
is-
you drinking?
It is a turmeric. I have turmeric ginger tea every podcast.
Oh wow,
It's
that's
nice.
spicy.
Yeah, it's spicy. Gives me clears up the throat, you know. 'Cause
Yeah,
I tend to all the time. So
I just thought you just wanted me to listen. That's why.
right, everybody thinks that I'm trying to get their attention. I'm like, no, it's a thing. I'm sorry. I can't help it. It's genetic.
It's one of those things where, like, in another 10 years, I'll probably be like, God damn, that throat clearing. It's not there yet, but
I'm already there. So
Still
that's why I
endearing.
drink tea.
And tonight I have my mountain oolong tea. It's quite delicious.
Your mountain what?
It's called oolong tea.
Oh, nice.
Honestly,
I
I
I
just
think it's a
discovered it.
oolong is a mixture between green and black. I think. I think that's what it is.
Interesting. Oh, thank you for that. Because I was like, what am I drinking? It's delicious, but I can't really place it.
Nice. I think I've had oolong 2 or 3 times, but like I prefer either like the straight green teas or the straight black teas.
Mhm.
Purist.
English breakfast.
Oh yeah, but I'm a big Earl Grey. To me, it's like there's
nice.
Earl Grey tea and then everything else.
Mm. Earl Grey is nice. It's the aromaticness of Earl Grey is something that I always like. A little bit of cream. You have a London fog.
A
Smells-
London fog.
That's what it's called. Yes.
I like it.
Yeah, it's real good. Or I used to drop like 2 shots of espresso into my Earl Grey.
Ooh.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's
I
the
know
most
black tea and
extreme-
espresso. Oof.
It's the most extreme flavor that you'll have. But it perks you up real quick.
I mean, I would imagine that's like, triple shots of caffeine there.
Yeah, like it's just the addict in me coming out.
Yeah. I had a coworker that used to do Coca-Cola and espresso shots.
Oh
Ew.
God.
Not very tasty.
Damn.
In high school, I once did. I was at In-N-Out. I did a Diet Coke with Red Bull.
Ew.
Yeah, it's a lot of caffeine.
Although I guess it's no different than the suicides that you used to do as a kid. You just go up to the machine and put all of them in one cup.
Yeah,
I used to do that a lot.
Right.
Yeah, I did that too. My dad.
It always
was the
ended up
first one.
tasting like Dr. Pepper though, because Dr. Pepper is like the most powerful flavor.
I thought Dr. Pepper was just like the chicken of sodas. Like everything tastes like Dr. Pepper if you mix it up enough.
I think so.
Chicken of sodas. Nice.
So yeah, let's jump into it. The What?
I said hop hop. You said
Mm.
jump
Hop.
into it.
Sorry,
Wow.
you're cutting in and out a little bit, Ayla.
Oh.
Yeah. It's all right.
Mm.
I think it'll settle in. Just the
Oh.
internet.
I had just made a little joke. You said, let's jump to it. And I said, hop, hop.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good joke.
Mm.
I feel like
Hilarious.
So
was it
glad
the-
we paused for it.
Yeah.
the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland who's always late. Was it the rabbit that was always late?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I felt like because I was a little late on
Right.
that joke.
Hey, there
Oh.
you go.
Yeah.
We're starting off the show real hot.
Real hot. Which is okay because the first thing I want to talk about is sitting as Buddha.
Mhm.
So, do either of you remember this episode at all?
Ayla should because it was hers.
Oh my God. Why are you just calling me out?
Because the person that led the episode should be the one that kind of takes the reins about it.
Oh, this is kind of something pre-show would have been helpful to know, but yeah. What would
No,
you
we just
like
put you
to
on the
know
spot. It's
about
even better.
the episode?
It sounds like some Zen Buddhist sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would think that. Sitting Buddha.
Uh-oh.
I'm really trying
He
to
doesn't
remember.
He doesn't. Look at
I
that.
told you I don't retain these episodes because there's like a couple of themes that are connected, but some of the ancillary stuff, especially the cones, I'm a little more hard pressed. But I think if I had to guess, there would have been like a Dojin Zenji that maybe wrote the cone. He tends to be one that's referenced a lot. Although I think all the cones, aren't they all written by like the same person who's like not a person?
Oh, I don't know. They don't know. It could be an Aesop sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and Zen is sort of the meditative form that would do that. Most of the time when it comes to sitting, though, how do I want to phrase this? A Zen Buddhist would tell you that it's good for nothing. And once you understand sitting, and that sitting is good for nothing, you've understood sitting.
Yeah.
Right.
I have the cone here, so I can just recite it to you guys real quick.
Oh, I had pulled it up too.
right,
That's
cool.
how I pulled Dojin Zenji out. And then I
Right.
said what I said, and I was like, I don't think that's correct. And then I backpedaled, and I was still trying to play it off, but read it, Nick. Let's hear
Oh,
it.
okay.
No, I think Ayla should read it since she led the episode.
I like when Nick reads, though.
She just likes to hear me mess up, so I'll
No, it's like settling in for a bedtime story. You have one of
Sure.
those voices that like I think would be so great.
Colin Firth in the King's Speech. I don't know. Yeah.
You know what? That was a great movie, and good for
I'm
him.
not saying it
He
wasn't.
kept at it. No, I'm proud of him.
I'll
And
be the.
you.
Okay. All right. Well, let me
got
go
it.
then. All right. Thanks.
All right, go get it.
Oh, it's so adorable. Look at you guys. You guys should
All
get
right.
married.
Stream's
or
over.
something.
Stream's over. We're done.
We cute.
Now I've embarrassed them.
So the cone goes as follows. It says, when asked why he practiced Zen, the student said, because I intend to become a Buddha. His teacher picked up a brick and started polishing it. The student asked, what are you doing? The teacher replied, I am trying to make a mirror. How can you make a mirror by polishing a brick? How can you become Buddha by doing Zazen? If you understand sitting Zen, you will know that Zen is not about sitting or laying down. If you want to learn sitting Buddha, know that sitting Buddha is without any fixed form. Do not use discrimination in the non-abiding Dharma. If you practice sitting as Buddha, you must kill Buddha. If you are attached to the sitting form, not yet mastering the essential.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That kind of jogs my memory a little bit, where we were talking about meditation and sort of poses and
Yeah, that's
the
right.
rigidness of Dharma, as the master puts it, or like processes, and letting go of those processes as like because you're still holding on to something. The process is still something you're holding on to when the idea is letting go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, I've taken different classes here and there, and you'll have some teachers who are really strict about like the rules of sitting, tongue placement, hand mudras, straight back, etc., etc. And then you'll have others that are like, well, it's kind of individualized, it's different for every person. That's a means, but it's not the end focus. And yeah, I think it was an interesting discussion, only because you do have to ask yourself, if there was a true path, would it be something that has a paint by numbers kind of guide, or would it be something that's more like fluid and
I think it's also like the delineation between doing a thing or being a thing and thinking about the process of becoming the thing, right? Sometimes we get stuck in this like, regimented step-by-step process instead of just letting go and being the thing.
or as they say in the streets, don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah.
But you're still you're still desiring to become something, right? Even if once you've let go of the idea of thinking about the thing, and you're now doing the thing to be the thing, somewhere in the back of your mind, you still want to be the thing.
That's why Buddhism is one of those things that is not really attainable. Bodhisattvaism isn't really attainable by most mortals, and neither is nirvana. So it's the concept of reincarnation. We just keep doing the same things over and over again until we learn our lesson.
Until you learn to let go of the thing that you're
Yeah.
trying to ascribe to, right?
It's like that Simpsons episode.
Which one?
No, it's not. Not everything is a Simpsons episode. Always with the Simpsons with you.
Maybe
Wow.
all of the multiverse is just one long Simpsons episode.
I have my theories on that, but no, there was that Simpsons episode where Homer wanted a drink out of the vending machine and he wouldn't let go. He just kept holding on to it, and he had like a technician come out hours later.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Mr. Simpson, are you still holding on to the can?" And he's just like, "No." But like he's so guilty.
That's how they, and I think we actually talked about this in that episode. That's how they trap monkeys.
Oh.
They'll put a banana in a hand trap, and the monkey will go reaching for it, snaring the trap. The monkey can actually just escape the trap if he lets go of the banana, but they never do. So,
Never?
I mean, almost rarely. Yeah.
And the next one we talked about the brainwashing, for lack of a better term.
The Landmark Forum.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because one of the key tenets there was drop the banana, right? So it's that letting go of the thing in order to save yourself, because fixation on the thing can lead to your own destruction. So,
but obsession feels so good.
Yeah, of course it feels good, but things that feel great are often, over long periods of time, not that great for you.
Very true. Good short-term plan, bad long-term plan.
That's why working out sucks so much.
Yeah, that's the secret behind I think behind drugs. Like caffeine is a great short-term plan, but if you just constantly pound or any drug, constantly pound caffeine every day for long periods of time, you end up with kidney stones.
Yep. And you could have just alleviated the whole process by going to bed early.
Yeah. Or the same thing with work, right? Work's always going to be there, but if you get yourself addicted to work, then you end up burning out.
Yeah, and not experiencing life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sit as the Buddha.
Yeah.
Or don't. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't, as long as you find the wholeness within yourself. Find the self, really. Whatever path you want to take is fine, but the path of Zen is the path of letting go of the self to reattain the self, and not knowing that you attained the self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of it's unconscious.
Yeah, it can be a little circular,
And
but
it's very circular.
but it's only viewed as circular from like from one dimension. If you step back, then it starts to make sense
Mm-hmm.
in like a 3 or 4 or 5D dimensional space.
Now, I have a question. If the two of you were going to be like a divine being with wisdom and transcendence to bestow, if the Buddha bestows, I don't know that they bestow it, but what I mean to say is, if you were like a creator of some kind, would you want to create an easy step-by-step process by which your creations can like achieve attainment of like enlightenment, or would you want it to be a little more nebulous, a little bit more,
Well, I think
like
that
the
those
cone?
are, I think it's just two schools of thought, right? Some people need the orthodoxy in order to fall into states like that. Other people don't. And so, like, yes, you could just follow the orthodoxy, but maybe the orthodoxy doesn't work for you. Doesn't mean you just throw the entire philosophy out. It just means that maybe you need to apply, apply it in a way that's personal to you instead of, a very regimented process. So, I
Oh yeah.
mean, like, I think that it's applicable to have orthodoxy and sort of non-conventional methodologies. I think it's applicable to two subsets of people. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would. I would just say do what you want to do. Like I
I
don't
See the
know.
cool
would
one.
No.
I would then make the argument that you want things to be nebulous. Like I want things to be as nebulous as possible as someone that rejects determinism wholeheartedly,
Mhm.
because I would want the things that I created to not be automatons, to not
Mhm.
be simulations of creation, but rather creations with their own free will.
Yeah.
So if they find virtue within the orthodoxy, great. But if they don't and they can find their own unexpected path towards enlightenment, then that's just as awesome.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. That's why Christ said the kingdom of heaven lives within. Um, it's the same sort of thing. Like you can't. There are some ways that you can be regimented about this type of thing, but it really comes down to the person. And I don't know. I think doing what you want to do is, and as long as you're trying to reach that place, you don't need to be sitting against a tree. You could be working on a piece of art. You could be coding on your computer. You can, like there's just so many ways to slip into that space. So
But
I do like the idea of nebulism, not determinism, because you want to be the master of your destiny.
yeah, but I believe so this is like I guess my last comment on this. I think the end goal should still be to not have an end goal, right?
Mhm.
To create for the sake of creating, or to sit there for the sake of sitting. That you find out that everything is pretty much good for nothing. And
Mhm.
once you find that virtue in nothing, you can begin to explore the ideas of Zen.
Mhm. What's that line? Life is what's happening when you're making other plans.
Mhm.
So your life can't be a whole bunch of end goals. It has to be the process itself, or else you're only going to be happy when you meet those end goals and not for the majority of your life. Like because you're not making your end goals every day, and so you really do have to appreciate the process.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Ayla? Do you want things to be nebulous? Do you want things to be orthodox?
Well, I mean, if I was like the creator of a mini world, um, hmm, I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of them being nebulous, but then it's like I also like giving people a way. I get the value in that too. But you're right, like that would make it a little bit deterministic, a little bit fatalistic. I like the idea of free will also. Um So yeah, I mean, I guess I'd go nebulous too, honestly. Only because I wouldn't want to like I wouldn't want to be like a controlling creator of some mini world. As I'm thinking about my, that's such a weird question, but it's kind of a fun one to ask yourself. And if you're listening, like, would you keep things the way they are, or would you expound upon them? I mean, assuming that's how they are now. But
I think our reality is a mixture of both, though, right? So if you pull back on the universe and reality and pull all the way back, zoom all the way out, it looks deterministic. Because you can see like larger mechanisms of causality and all that stuff. But then when you zoom in all the way into the human level, I think that's when it becomes more of the choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why, like, oh, sorry, Mike. I was just gonna say, if by keeping it nebulous, you don't create a rigidity for the inhabitants to rebel against, and I think that's kind of nice to take that out of the equation. That's what I was gonna say. What about you, Mike?
Definitely within, there needs to be a give and take with regards to rigidness and non-conformity. That's how you get the system to grow. In an AI sense, it would be like having what's called an adversarial AI, where you have one AI working to solve one problem, the other AI to break said other AI. This becomes true with things like facial recognition. So the way that efficient in finding out who people are is that you have one AI create a fake face uh, based off of again like eigenvalues and eigenspaces, not the scope. But you have things create fake faces, and you have the other thing detect whether the face is fake or not. And so each one is working against each other. Mm-hmm. And in that way, I think our mini world should work in that way. And this is actually a pretty interesting thought experiment that sounds like it comes from somebody with a degree in philosophy or something. It's like but that lies on the person who poses the question.
One could say.
Yeah, right. But no, definitely, that was a good episode, and something now that I look back on differently than I did while recording, which is kind of cool.
I like that.
Yeah, growth is important. But right after that, as I'm trying to wrap it all up really nice and move forward before we end up into a 3-hour conversation about
one episode. Yeah.
One episode. Yeah. Is something that might end up becoming another 3-hour conversation. Imminent disclosure.
Yeah.
So
what a letdown.
Seriously.
Sometime earlier this year, we got word from the government that UFOs exist with regards to the definition of their UFOs, which means they know jack shit, or at least they're telling us they know jack shit. But they exist. There's things that we can't identify at all.
Mm-hmm. And then they came out with some bullshit 9-page report that basically said, yeah, we don't really know. It could be aliens. It could not be. Who knows? Money well spent. Thanks, government.
But if I may venture to argue that I know anything about the government, which I don't. It's like a hard no there.
Way to sell it.
I'm just trying to like empathize with somebody there. So like if you're in government, I imagine you're like overly paranoid, especially with dealing with UFOs, and you've removed yourself from population. It's like an isolation sort of point of view. So now you're working with people that you can only share that information with, and you can't tell your family or outside members anything, which implies a inherent echo chamber. So they probably classified a bunch of UFO shit that they did not need to classify, or were so worried that
Mhm.
the general populace would freak out that we can't even um, begin to speculate on it. So it's just the same old run mill. Yeah, maybe, maybe not. But it's
Mhm.
definitely not a weather balloon. But maybe, maybe not. It might be a weather balloon.
Might be. Who knows?
Maybe.
But on that subject, I'll here share this article that just came out a couple days ago, and it is. Can y'all see that? Yes. All right. Cool.
Oh.
NASA taps theologians to figure out how humans may react to aliens. We shared this in our thread, little off-show thread, but I wanted to see what you guys thought. I mean, we had a little chat about it in the chat, but we didn't really get to talk about this on Exofathom. This would have been a nice addendum to the disclosure episode that we did.
Which
But
we never did because it was such a disappointing disclosure that
It
we
really
just
was.
never
Yeah.
opened that book again.
nope, because that sucks. But yeah, so I mean, like, and this happened 2 days ago, and it's basically saying that NASA's hiring a few, like 40 or something like that, theologians to consult with them about how the human population will handle alien disclosure. To me, this feels like another smoke mirror, but then again, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they just throw these little carrots out for us to be like, oh, look what's happening, and then nothing ever happens of it. But it could
Hey,
be something.
at least they're hiring people. At least somebody has, like, I imagine the run of the mill theologian doesn't have too many job opportunities.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough job.
Yeah, it keeps
Yeah.
the whole economic infrastructure running. Right. So at least
Mhm.
there's that. But I think it's a fair question to wonder how various religions would react.
Mhm.
And even I mean, atheism is a religion. You can come fight me about that. That's fine. But even how they would react upon finding out that aliens exist. I
Right.
don't think it should be that big of a deal. I don't think it's that crazy thinking to say that somewhere else in the universe there's some beings that were there before we were around that have
Right.
now traveled over here. I
Right.
think that's like I would argue that it's silly to ponder the opposite.
Mhm. I agree. I also wonder too, and this is what this made me think of. Why do we assume that any alien life we meet is going to have the answers to the universe?
Hmm.
Like, because I think
Hopefully
that a lot of us have
because
this assumption that that's what's going to happen. But what if we meet them and we're like, what are all the answers? We're like, fuck if I know, dude. We don't know. We are hoping you knew. Like, just
that
because
makes a
we
lot
can
of
Came all
visit
sense.
this
you,
way.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes that like seems far more likely than I think maybe it's just the romanticism of like
Mhm.
a hyper intellectual species
Right.
that is better than us, right? It's
Sky
the same,
Daddy.
yeah, but it's the same fear as Skynet,
Right.
right? Just in a slightly different light.
Yeah. I just think it's funny that we assume that an alien species would just like give us all the answers to the questions. Honestly, I'm saying this now on Exofathom because this may happen eventually. If aliens do make contact with humans and just start giving us the answers to everything, I'm going to be super sus. I'm going to be so sus of that shit.
It's a cookbook.
Yeah.
It's a cook. So there's a Twilight Zone called To Serve Man where this thing happens. We find an alien species. They have all the answers. They give us this tech. They kind of prove that they know their knowledge. But they left us this book in their language that we end up decoding and finding out that it's a cookbook. So with exchange for technology and planetary safety, they're shipping off a bunch of humans to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that could also happen as well. But there's a pivotal scene, like the most famous scene. The word that I should use is escaping me. But she like this the main female actress runs up to the main male actress or actor and it's just like, it's a cookbook. Don't
Mhm.
get on that ship. It's a cookbook. And the alien like forces the dude into the ship, and they all fly off, and he's doomed to die.
Mhm. Sounds like a classic Twilight Zone episode.
Honestly.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Those Ross Sterling episodes. But yeah,
Yeah.
no. I don't know what they would have the answers. I don't even know if they would hope that we have the answers. I would like to think that there are a bunch of fuck ups that just find this planet accidentally. That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's strange that we think that just because of like the passing of time, like we're just bound to be smarter. I don't know if that's going to be true, because we think of these alien civilizations as like, oh, they've probably been around for millennia, maybe millions of years. They must be so much more advanced than us. I'm like, well, I don't know, man. Do you think humans are going to be smarter in 20 years? I'm not sure. I mean,
There's
define smarter,
Yeah, there's a difference between technologically advanced and being smarter. I mean, look how many
Mhm.
civilizations here on Earth were more technologically advanced but dumb as shit.
Mhm.
Right? Chose paths of genocide over paths of um, diplomacy
Yeah.
and combining to build something that was better.
Yeah.
So,
And
like,
I think that that's the fallacy, right? It's like this weird futurism utopia where everybody's like, look, once our tech gets better, all of humanity is going to be better. We're going to be smarter. We're going to be more enlightened. Everybody's going to be riding on a cloud and it's going to be all right. And I don't know, man. All of our
it's
tech seems like
irrational.
it's going into a very dark corner.
It's
you know?
takes romantic thinking though
Yeah.
in rational times.
Mhm.
And romanticism by its basis is irrational, which kind of fights the whole purpose of that thing.
Yeah.
Well, and I find it so it's just interesting to me that NASA is reaching out to theologians because I mean it's good to be prepared, you know. And I do know that we recently launched, I believe it's the Thomas Webb telescope. I looked a little bit into it. That just launched, I believe, this month, and it's going to be the best, latest, and greatest telescope that we're going to by June have situated somewhere in the universe, possibly Mars. It might be going a little bit further. I'm not sure exactly the destination, but the idea is that it'll be a stationary telescope that's, super far away from us, zero, like super little light pollution. And it's going to be sending us images of the universe that are going to be the best we've ever seen. And it's just incredible to like think back on the past couple of years. Like we are alive to see a picture of the first black hole. In June of this year, we're going to see all this other cool stuff. And, we've already proven that exoplanets exist. So planets that are kind of like Earth or could sustain Earth-like living. And yeah, I don't know. It's just a really cool time. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to see what comes out in June. And I would be excited to see what a collaborative of theologians come to, like what conclusion they come to. That I would love to sit in on that room discussion,
Mm.
That'd be cool. That
Mm-hmm.
would be cool. So are we all equally disappointed but hopeful about imminent disclosure?
I'm not hopeful. It's a psyop. Don't believe it, guys.
Well, I am
I'm
hopeful for those
hopeful.
theologians.
Yeah. I ain't believing the little green man. At least not at first.
I mean, they exist on top of my drink.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a good drinking rule. It's the deep cut for a drink. Anyways, moving forward, words from a cynic, Bion.
Mm-hmm.
So this was my episode, and I remember shades of Bion, but I've always done my best to remove the ideas from the thinker, unless it's something profoundly prudent or profoundly new. But if I remember Bion correctly, he was just like all the other well-formed cynics as a smartass and came came later, so he even was a little bit critical of past cynics or people that describe themselves as cynics. And to be cynical now is not what it meant to be cynical back then. Philosophers would describe the difference between being a capital C cynic or being a lowercase c cynic, because the two C's are different and they have different ideas. To be a classical cynic would be more to try to return humans to the natural state of things. So maybe a little bit anti technology, or at least worried about how technology changes us as beings due to the sake of convenience, things like that. But I remember having fun during that episode because it ran along the similar notions of kind of scoffing at the not Aristotle, the regal class. I'm losing the word that starts with an A. The aristocracy. Scoffing at that sort of thing and kind of showing that we are at the all day still the same humans, no matter what heights we achieve as far as social status goes. I think it was an exobit too.
Yeah, it was an exobit. And yeah, it seems like he was kind of an iconoclast where he would apparently he eulogized the gods and poverty and philosophy. And you know, he's a shit poster, and he would talk about he would have eulogies for the gods, saying that he was going to attack them, and then yeah. So he seems like just that sort of like contrarian type of attitude.
Yeah, I pulled up the show notes from that day, and I'm kind of looking at it. And even some of these quotes are great. Bion would tell his friends that they could feel confident that they were making moral progress when they reacted to abuse, no differently than if they had been addressed as follows. Stranger, you look not like a bad or foolish fellow. Or, well met, sir, greeting, and may the gods grant you happiness. So it's, that sort of like
taking the wind out of your sails. Yeah.
Which all cynics did. That was like that's how they got high, I feel like.
Right.
Outside of probably actually getting high, but oh man, there's some good, like, cynics always had such good sayings.
They're very quippy.
Yeah, they are.
They followed. There's like a little bit of light of that in Sparta as well. Spartans, both men and women, had these really quick responses to things. Like their wit was as sharp as their spears. It's always really good to read their sort of stuff.
Allegedly, I mean, it's not like we saw them on TV or anything. This is just them writing about themselves.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if you know this, but I was there during the times. I'm a being as old as time itself. I was here before
fancy?
Here after time.
Ayla's gone off the deep end. She thinks all history is fake now.
No, my God.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
Oh, look at that.
How do you even know Sparta existed, man?
That's impressive to reject all of your like academic training and go no,
everything. Just
no.
none of it existed.
Go rogue.
That's super slopsism right there.
No, well, I did. Oh.
No, go for it. I was just going to stream of conscious for a while.
Ah, okay. Sorry, I think the lag is here. I was going to say that ever since I did the episode on time and like talking about like, is it real? Is it not real? I guess we'll get to that. I have been asking myself, like, if time isn't necessarily real, then like, what is, like, would that change our relationship to the past? And I think
Ayla's this close to being put on a 5150 because she's obsessing about time too much.
I know.
Damn. 5150 is California only, right?
Yeah, we're in California. It's all good.
Yeah, there's going to be listeners that don't know what that is. That's basically like call somebody to watch this person. In case they-
Psychological watch. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god. No, I'm fine.
If I start seeing, newspapers on the windows, I'm definitely doing it.
Oh shit! I'm so screwed.
Wow.
I'm already 5150 then.
Seriously,
This is
that's
just
so
my
harsh.
cell, a very
What if
comfy
I
cell.
don't like sun? Yeah. No, but well, look, it's a byproduct of a lot of things, but most specifically, I am homebound with a pretty significant injury that I am championing through. But if anybody has seen Hitchcock's Rear Window, you would know that being homebound for a certain period of time, it can cause one to go a little mini 5150. And I'm just saying that time, if you read about it and you really start thinking about it and peeling back the layers, yeah, you can get a little like, this is weird. This is kind of weird. And
Don't
I'll
worry.
leave it.
I don't. I behave like time doesn't exist. So don't worry about that. We're in the same crazy boat.
aw, thanks, friend.
But yeah, no. Returning back to this, like you being a general cynic of time. I mean, even Bion, he is just sort of
Cynic
like cynic. I'm a
Nice.
cynic of time. Like describing the way that students behave too. Even back in the ancient times, the same thing held true. So like Bion used to say that there's three classes of students composed of gold, silver, and bronze. The gold students would pay something and take something away. The silver ones pay but learn nothing, while the students made of bronze get something from their classes but pay nothing in return. And that like in like the larger ecosystem of things, that still can exist where if you're really good at networking, you really don't have to learn anything in class, but it's these sort of like quips and these sort of like quick-witted responses or condensed ideas that end up paving way for people like Schopenhauer and Nietzsche and even the existentialist or Camus, the absurdist, like these people who can express a dense idea in a few words. That's always been impressive to me.
Yeah. I always like that. What brevity is the soul of wit.
Yeah.
I'm just full of platitudes today, so that's going to be me. And
That's cool.
I'm just going to keep saying them. No,
It
but
keeps
I
everything
agree.
tight,
Yeah.
so we can move on because
I
we're
know.
never going to get.
We're never
through
going to
all
finish. Yeah.
We'll be talking into next year.
Oh yeah.
Allegedly, because it doesn't exist yet. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, it exists somewhere on this earth. There's no future. There's
Allegedly.
no past. There's not even a now. I hope you're happy.
My tea's gone cold. I'm wondering why.
Oh, what is cold
Passage
but
of
nothing?
time.
No,
Oh,
what is cold?
you
but
guys missed the Dido reference. I'm so disappointed in both of you.
Dido.
I only connect
Tea's
that
gone
to
cold. I'm wondering why.
yeah. I only connect that to Stan. That's
Yeah.
about it.
I know.
Oh,
And
Dido. Okay.
Scrubs. She's a Canadian. Yeah, Dido. Stan and Scrubs. That's the only two, and it's only that one song. She's one of those one-hit wonders, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, I don't think of any other song that she did.
Go get back in bed. I don't know why the hell you got out of bed today.
That's right.
All right, but I'll move forward. Talking about songs is the Hopi Song of Creation.
Skip.
No,
Skip.
Nick, I had to do Sitting Buddha. You got to do this one.
I don't remember. I don't remember. I
Oh,
really
you don't.
The words are I do not recall.
That's right. To the best of my knowledge, I do not recall.
Yes.
Yeah, that one was tough. I think that's when I was starting to peter out on exobits. So I'm glad that I stopped doing that because that was one of those where I really liked what I read out of it, but I don't feel like it was a decent episode. But I can't remember, so whatever.
Yeah, what are you? You're trying to recall something you don't recall.
Exactly.
You're critiquing something you don't recall. If I remember right, the Mother of Creation sang a song with themes of obviously themes of creation, but like things are born from the plants and the sun rising, creative stuff. Very um, Native American holistic type themes.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I'll co-sign that. I should know more about this one, but I don't remember everything. As I said, there is a point where I kind of ran out of steam on the exobits. So
Was this your
yeah,
episode, Nick?
yeah, this was mine. This was mine.
Mm.
Yeah,
But
so
you
it's
did
the
run out of
context of it.
steam.
Yeah, the context of it is like when Spider-Woman was tasked by Taiwa God to create man after the stage was set for them. Spider-Woman gave them or gathered the earth of 4 colors: yellow, red, white, and black. She mixed the earth which with Techvala, the liquid from her mouth, and molded the earth. And when it covered in a white cape of whatever. Yeah, so the thing is I remember the song, and if you guys want to look it up, I'm sure somebody could recite it nicely and in verse and stuff, so please go check it out. It's really beautiful, and the verses are really rich with sort of imagery that I did appreciate, but I just don't, I'm not, there's a couple I'm the couple that I'm just not really amped about. And so, yeah, I couldn't tell you.
No, you're fine. But this, what I like about it is that it's a good entry point for Native American creation myths because there's a lot of themes within that song that run in parallel with other Native American tribes.
Right.
Whether they be from, like the Iroquois Confederacy, which is in the northeastern part of America, to the southeast, the was it like 5 civilized tribes or the 6 or 7 civilized tribes to the southwestern part, which I believe were the Hopi from there.
Yeah,
The southwestern
Southwest.
part of it.
Ayla should know. I don't know
Even
why.
even
They were
like
neighbors.
yeah, even to the northwestern part where you get a lot of totem poles, where now you can, if you look at the logo of the Seahawks and the original logo of the Seahawks, it's very much inspired by northwestern tribes.
Mhm.
Not to get all sports bally about stuff, but
No,
that
it's
logo,
it was literally a totem eagle, right?
yeah,
I believe that's what it was.
or
Yeah.
Seahawk.
Seahawk, yeah.
Yeah, but
Osprey.
those. Oh, so yeah, you know the zoology better than me. Yeah, it's a good entry point to dive into those creation myths if you're interested in those creation myths.
Yeah, big time. And there's many people who sing them and recite them and do them better justice. So please go check that out because it is worth listening to and it's worth kind of thinking about. That's, as I said, that's when I started running out of steam with exobits, and so I apologize that it wasn't the most, I don't know, it just wasn't as fleshed out as I would have liked it to be. That's where I'll leave it. Yeah.
I think it's where we ran into problems with exo. Like I felt the same way with mine. Like it just became difficult over that short of a time to build an episode out that I was happy with as a presenter.
Exactly. Yeah.
To think deeply about it takes too much time.
It does.
Yeah. It takes a while to figure shit out. But the episode after that was titled "I Want to Know."
It was it. Did we already go over I Want to Believe?
No, that's after I Want to Know.
Knowledge does come before belief, I would imagine. Hopefully in a right system.
I think so. Yeah, I think this was the one about Oumuamua. Yeah, it was the 6 strange facts.
Nice.
And it was all about this little interstellar rock thing that came into our solar system. And it was really exciting at the time. And then right after we did that episode, there was like more alien talk. And I was like, well, I guess my rock's not that impressive, but it is interstellar. And that is cool.
That was
and weird.
That was the episode sponsored by Stanford or sponsored by what school was it that the guy came from?
Harvard.
Yeah, but he's not affiliated with Harvard. I think he left and then now he's but he's somewhere else. Like Where is he? I know he took a position. I'm talking about Avi Loeb. He was a Harvard-trained astronomer. I think he was even like chair of the department, and he caught wind of this um, object, and he was so inspired by the particulars around it that he left his position so that he could actually advocate for a like a closer look at these aerial phenomena, which I'm in favor of, because it's like, yeah, you can call people who believe in aliens and UFOs crazy, but it's like, why don't you create a system to look into what we don't know, because oftentimes anomalies push our understanding of stuff. So even if it's not aliens, it could be like, wow, we didn't know light refracts off of blah 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 and creates those orbs or whatever. But let's see, Avi Loeb, professor.
No, that makes
Is he back at Harvard?
that makes sense. Those outliers, if they indicate a trend on their own, which I think in UFOs they definitely do, then it becomes something to pay attention to try to build within your scientific system of understanding.
Mm-hmm. And he just said, probabilistically speaking, we most likely aren't alone. There's a lot of evidence to say that there could be life out there. It might not be intelligent life. It might be intelligent in a way we don't understand. But to start having a mechanism to talk about it, yeah, I think I'm down with it. I'm curious to see where he,
Where he's at now. Where he's like,
yeah.
Still talking about a rock that's gone.
well, here's the part that gets difficult, where you wander into the Bob Ozark, Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar.
Yeah, Bob
Bob
Lazar.
Lazar. Bob Lazar.
Bob. And, like, you wander into that zone of being unpersoned by the general establishment, and once you get there, it becomes very difficult to regain any sort of authority within traditional channels. You have to keep all your channels open. At least as somebody that wants to learn stuff, I try to keep my channels open to all opinions or wisdom or anything like that, because there's something that might not be on my radar, or there's something that the establishment that has shut down that should actually be listened to. Like, sort of in like the Don't Look Up movie that keeps catching wind nowadays. There's there's certain groups of people that are fringe that you should listen to, even if you disregard their final findings, but you got to do your due diligence. And all of those fringe folks end up working outside of the common narrative and common authority structure that exists.
Yeah. They killed Galileo.
Yeah,
I have to say.
That's true.
Hey, and it's always the state. Like, the state killed
Yeah.
Jesus and the state killed Galileo.
Right.
What the hell is wrong with the state?
Well, yeah, that's a totally different conversation.
One that got us in trouble, and no one will listen to this podcast ever.
Right.
But after that, are we all good with this? Are we all
Yeah.
good with Avi Loeb and his rock that might be a UFO or might not be a UFO? Okay.
Well, it's definitely not a nitrogen iceberg. Was that what they ruled out?
Yeah,
That was the latest
nitrogen
news.
iceberg.
But see, this is what I appreciate. As even though it's not very sexy, it's still very, very fascinating on a lot of levels. Mostly the interstellar part, because, like, okay, I'm actually
But I
obviously
think you.
still learning this stuff,
But
but, like,
what if it just has a giant elliptical orbit around our solar system? Like, it doesn't. Interstellar doesn't mean that it's going to a different solar system.
well, I was just going to ask, like, how do they know? Because my understanding is interstellar means, like, we have our solar system and everything spins around its own axis. But then if it's interstellar, that means it's something that came from another universe or, like,
No,
system,
solar
and then
system,
it came this way.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
a
would be another
collision could have
solar
happened in a
system.
solar system and sent it our way, and then that's it.
That's
Yeah, but it's
still,
fascinating that we haven't had the tech to observe it. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Shout out to Big Mike real quick. Happy New Year, man. Thanks for
Happy
watching.
New Year. Big
Yeah,
man.
Happy New Year. Thanks for being online.
Oh wait, and I think we're a little late, but Happy New Year on the East Coast.
Hey, yeah, that's right.
Hey.
Happy New Year, all you East Coasters out there
Mm-hmm.
living 2.5 hours in the future.
4?
3, really.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, middle point. It's fine.
Mhm.
I think that's the virtue of science is to treat every question as if it was sexy, no
Mhm.
matter what it is.
I'd co-sign
Yeah,
that.
at least with some curiosity, right? You don't want to dismiss something by, for the chance that it might actually be something big. So, yeah,
Mhm.
got to look into it. Got to look
Yeah.
into it.
And we'll probably figure out more about this Namu Namu or Nama
Moa.
Nama.
Moa.
Moa. Same thing. Doesn't matter. What was it? What was the Kat Dennings Bajornler? Mew Mew. Is it? It's just
Oh,
the
yeah.
Mew Mew.
Mhm.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about this the other day. There's a the solar system cluster that we're colliding with. It also has a Hawaiian name, and then
We're not colliding with it. We're a part of it. You talk about Laniakea?
Yeah.
something like
I
that?
still don't know what that is. I need to learn more. I just saw
So
this
it's just
picture
it's
and
an
there was a
arm of
dot.
our universe. So
It's an
like the
arm.
universe is splayed out and spread out over infinity, right? It's our zip code of the universe. That's the way you can think of it.
Yeah, but it's folding in
It's a
on
cluster.
itself.
Yeah,
It
because
sounds-
it's like an arm, so it goes out like this. It's like a star cluster that kind of has an arc. So I guess maybe it's falling in on itself, but
It sounds like a future episode.
there you go.
It probably is. Sorry, getting off of.
All right.
I could just go on and on about this Moa Moa. Let me
There's
tell
something
ya.
about this space.
Nice.
So
Let's go.
So
There's another one we can skip.
Frisian?
The
Frisson,
meaning of
yeah.
life?
Frison?
Oh,
Yeah.
Frison.
Yeah.
Why? What? At least
I like that
This is my
one.
least favorite episode, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
At least,
Ex-
yeah. It's because I think it's the last exo bit too, so you can tell that it was the one that just didn't work.
I literally don't remember.
Yeah, I was just trying to capture the idea of piloerection, and I don't know. It was a half-baked idea.
You might want to define that for
Wait,
those
who
who
had
haven't
an
heard this
erection?
episode.
Piloerection is goosebumps. It's awe. It's being inspired
okay.
by stuff. That same sort of mechanism that inspires awe and fear and all of that stuff. But I was again, the depth of a puddle on a topic that has the birth of an ocean. So it's
Oh
like,
my God, Nick.
yeah. Hey,
It's a
look, if you
very-
can't be critical about your work, I mean, you gotta.
No, I'm
Yeah.
laughing about the pond and the birth of an ocean. Flowery language over there. It's pretty good.
I wish I
That's a
used those
very-
flowery words in this episode. That's
But that's a very difficult thing to
Yeah.
compress. Right?
Yes.
Like you're talking about awe-inspiring feelings. You're talking about goosebumps. It's
Mhm.
difficult to do.
Yeah,
no
and
small.
you're mixing the psychological with the physiological, and of course I have no expertise in either, so
Yeah.
that's when I bit off there are certain episodes, and I thankfully after this one I never did it again, but there were certain episodes where I just bit off way more than I could chew.
I hate when I do that.
Yeah.
Hey, you should keep doing that. That's how you grow.
Yeah. I mean, I will eventually again, because I'm sure there's many topics that I won't be able to cover fully, but I want to at least give it more attention than I did for Frisson.
I will
Yeah, I
say I'm happy I did that episode on the Hubble concept because I had a deep dive to understand what the heck I was talking about, and I'm still not 100% sure on all the space and physics stuff, but when you
complicated.
it is, but when you focus on one little itty bitty thing and all the variables around it, then it's okay, I'm a little closer to scratching on this glacier.
Yeah, but then one door opens another and another and another, and then all of a sudden you have 25 tabs open and you don't know what you're talking about.
Rabbit
And,
holes.
Speaking of open tabs, we got our buddy here. I'm gonna bring him in. Drum roll, please, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. It is Keelan. What's going on?
Oh, what up, Keelan?
Keelan!
Happy
Look
New
at
Year's
that
Eve,
beard.
guys.
Hey,
Happy New
Year's Eve.
Year's.
What's going on, man?
Not much. Wanted to pop in, say what's up, say hey to everybody. What's up, Mike? What's up, Ayla?
Hello. What do you think about Omoa?
Momoa.
Bringing it back.
Wasn't
Or
that the
you
little-
could talk about
She's-
piloerection.
She's hung up on the Momo, I think, and she just doesn't want to talk about erections.
No.
Max goosebumps.
Yeah.
Goosebumps, friend.
Keelan.
Okay. I will say, but let me, because I was trying to catch in. Was Momoa, not a Momoa, but Momoa was the little football field size asteroid thing like 2 years ago,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, what the fuck? Ooh, sorry. What happened?
It's
to that?
okay. What happened? We don't know. It just left our solar system, never to be seen again.
Yeah.
And
it
there's
did,
some
like,
guy
weird
at Harvard that's still like, "What is up with that rock?"
stuff. I love it. I love
Obsession.
Wow. Yeah,
it. Obsessed with it.
to be clear, I'm kind of with him now because I didn't know what happened to it, and now I'm kind of like, what is
Where
it?
did it go?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, no, so that's my only take on that because I really don't even remember where we left off. Like the last big headline about that, I don't remember.
It's
Like
not
where
a
we left off as
nitrogen
a society.
cluster.
That it's not a nitrogen cluster.
Yeah. They thought it was like a big chunk of space ice or something like that.
We got Big
It
Mike
is not.
saying, "What's up to Keelan?"
What's
He's
up, Big Mike?
watching. Yeah,
Comment buddies. Oh,
that's right. Yeah,
you guys got it going on tonight, man.
we already always appreciate him joining us.
That's
Mhm.
dope. And what was the second one, Ayla? Because I'm that's it on Momoa. I have nothing else.
What
on that.
a better question would be, what gives you goosebumps?
Ooh.
You
What
guys are
makes-
terribly minded. Come on now.
What makes your skin erect, Keelan?
In a positive or a negative manner is the question.
I mean, as
Oh,
long
I
as
think
yeah,
you
right.
get goosebumps
Next,
either way.
You can get
It's
goosebumps.
disturbing.
out of it.
Yeah.
Right, you know. But from it's almost hard to say not much scares me, but silence, like deafening silence would definitely give me goosebumps, especially in like if I'm outside, it's cold and there's nothing and nobody around and it just goes dead silent.
Mhm.
Definitely getting goosebumps. And that's happened when I've been out of state before. So imagine that happening and you're not near your comfort.
That's
Right.
creepy.
Yeah.
That's
You just
creepy.
think some animals looking at you.
That's
Right.
usually my first thought is
Right.
something's watching me.
Mhm.
These overnight hikes at 3 a.m. There's something out there feeling.
That's
That-
the worst
No
part
thanks.
about camping.
That is almost the perfect analogy for exactly that feeling. Yes.
Mhm.
You're just
Oh,
like, why
yeah.
did my brain wake me up at this time to just be completely frightened for 2 more hours?
Or the better question when it happens, why am I in the woods again?
Yeah.
How did I
What?
get out here?
I think everybody asks that at like 3:00 in the the morning while they're
When they're
camping.
camping.
Yeah.
Look, those dead hookers aren't going to bury themselves. All right, I gotta put them somewhere.
I'm
That is
shaking my
fair.
head. Shaking my
That is
head.
All right,
Well,
so
it's good that Keelan popped in when he did because the next one he was on this episode. He was
Oh,
on
yeah.
the next
Oh,
episode.
nice.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, I
cataloging.
was going to say,
episodes. Very
talking
nice.
about dead hookers, I was going to ask about the meaning of life and how you.
Oh, but
how
we're
you're
on
feeling
Close
about all that.
Encounters. We're on Close Encounters.
Oh,
of
I
the
skipped
Kind.
one. No, you're right.
Mhm.
Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. I'm sorry, I got excited about dead hookers. You can blame that on me. Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind.
Oh, that documentary movie
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Slash.
Keelan, what do you
Ponzi
think about it
scheme.
now that you've like had time to think about it?
Oh, realer than possibly we want it to be, but I think it falls into like the CIA hidden intelligence type of situation, right?
Mm.
Where there could be some levity to it, but once it hit mainstream, you get propaganda and computer generated stuff and all of that thrown in,
Mm.
and you kind of end up with a Terminator 17.
Right. This is just like a flurry of misinformation and shit, and it's like, what do you
At a
choose?
certain point, yeah. At that point, it's like which side of the rabbit hole do you want to start on, really?
Mm. Yeah. No, I could definitely agree. I mean, I enjoyed this documentary. I think me and Ayla watched it recently too. Some of the footage is really cool and compelling, but like Ayla said just a moment ago, it does turn into like a marketing movie very quickly when he's like, just sign up for my program. I'll teach you how to contact aliens.
The grift is real.
The grift is real.
You know, I think so I've been on a couple of I've gone to a couple of what they call like museums, right?
Mm-hmm.
Different sites where people are best just set up in different stuff, yada yada yada. There's one museum, the Area 51 museum. It's kind of popular out like right off the strip in Vegas. Literally, you can sit there and talk to people who work there, like some of the security officers and stuff. And you'll be sitting there, you're talking to them, they're like, oh, yeah, no, in order to work at certain places, I'm like, yo, this is a museum. They're like, it's still a government facility. Like, people have clearances. I'm looking at them like, what are you talking about? And that kind of stuff to me seems a little more like that holds more weight than something that you say you've been doing for 30 years. And now, like you guys just said, it becomes, oh, hey, buy this program. Like they're not selling you a program when you go to these museums. You're literally offering your money so that you can know what they're willing to tell you, even if it's a farce.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a major difference. That's what he should have did if he was smart, right? You get one of those like what's the guy from the Tiger King, the guy with the retreat.
Oh yeah,
Doctor guy.
Yeah, Doc Antle.
Doc Ansel. Yeah, right. Same term, right? Exactly. Get something like that guy, and then say it's about aliens, and then
right.
I think that will work way better than buy my program.
You just have like dudes dressed in like green suits, just behind pages.
It's about the experience. It's not even about truth at that point.
Hey, that is true. You're selling a spectacle for sure. Yeah, and you know what? If he really wanted, like if his process really worked, why are you keeping it from the people, man? Why are you putting it behind a paywall? Come on.
Yeah.
Always my question.
Yeah.
Definitely. What I did like about, I know, but what I will say I enjoyed about the documentary was this idea that that they were somehow using like consciousness to travel through space, time, and dimensions, maybe. Because I thought that was kind of a cool thing. We haven't unlocked consciousness yet, although we are trying with some really weird science experiments that I've read of late. But yeah, I mean, just the idea that like potentially there could be some sort of traveler who uses, I don't know, consciousness. That's weird. But then like maybe it's, I don't know. It was something to consider, and I think it's so esoteric that whether you're just thinking about it like for fun or creatively, or thinking about it as like another way to conceive of consciousness, it's kind of a cool thing.
Ayla forgets that our introductory episodes were literally about the government acknowledging that this exists.
Well, I'm trying to like not get too out there, to stay a little bit more grounded. But no, you're right. The project, go for it, Nick. You every time.
No, I'm just saying we're gonna get to it in a few episodes. Don't worry about it. Talk about it.
I was like, I know you're waiting to say in the gateway discussion.
But that's how you ground it all, is through the fifth dimension. Like the if we're antennas and we're pulling things down from somewhere, then where is that somewhere? And if you can freely travel between here and the fifth dimension, or then why can't you communicate with beings that actively operate within said dimension?
It's the cloud for humans.
I mean, in a way, I think there comes a point with the reality of like we all have I have to say it this way. We all have like mind, like we're built the same, but we're not using it the same. And if we were all to get on a vibrational pattern that actually we could communicate with one another without utilizing words, I don't think that's impossible. But I think there's more benefit to simplicity than complexity. So at this point where everybody wants to be hyper intelligent, and one person wants to be able to build a quantum generator, whatever that might be, if that's possible. Maybe that's a name for something somewhere, but it sounds big and intelligent people-ish, right? But once you have like 2 or 3 of those kind of people, just in society alone, there's no way that you can have that level of vibration.
Yeah.
I think those kind of
Everybody's
things,
different. Yeah.
right? I think those kind of things weigh more on it, rather not than the information that they're going to give to us.
Well,
Because
and
if we were
yeah.
able to unlock it, it's there to unlock. Nobody really has to give you the template.
Yeah, that's the secret to what you're talking about, though. That's part of the problem solving process is to how to take something complex and make it simple,
Right.
so that we can all meet on that wavelength. Like we've all been around people where you don't even have to. You can have a whole conversation without ever talking to them. Like I have family members that are like that, where if I give them a look or they give me a look, I know exactly what they mean, no matter whatever the hell we're talking about.
Mm.
And that's sort of the feel that we're trying to describe. Whether or not to put that into like a technology thing, fuck if I know if that's good or not. I really don't know if everybody can understand that. But that's I think the level of communication that other beings, those close encounters, interact on, which through like evolution caused them to not have a need to verbally communicate.
Yeah. No, I think too, Keelan, you made a good point, because if we're all trying to raise our vibrations and get to this sort of like homogenous hum across humanity, it's intrinsic in our nature. I mean, like, this is the Garden of Eden paradox, right? You know, if you believe in the religious origins of humanity, we already started at that place, and now we purposely rebel from that place just to try to find a way back to it. But I think that if we were able to ever hit that sort of Eden again, there would be somebody that smashes it apart. And it's because I think that in some respects, like, that's the sort of gray utopia that's still haunting our minds, where we're like, yeah, if everybody could just get on the same page, then, you know, we'll be holding hands and singing Kumbaya. But you're right. What if somebody wants to create a quantum computer or a rocket to Mars, or they can't be on the same wavelengths, you know? And so, yeah, I think you're right. When you try to homogenize the human wavelength, then, I mean, we just become the Borg. And is it worth becoming the Borg to as a society to talk with these interdimensional beings? I don't know.
I don't think they want to communicate with us on that level.
Maybe
a
not.
Communism of mind.
The communism of mind. Yes.
Because if we're all homogenous within our thinking, then that leads, like you said, like nobody's gonna. They do have to be on a different wavelength to create that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And be able to communicate back to us. But if we're all homogenous, because nobody should be expected to think at a higher vibration, then all of that goes to shit. So I can see where there's like a new trapping of that communism of mind.
Yeah.
Right. And I also want to add that it could also come down to not just that, but also think of volatility. Like, what are you willing to do to get to that next stage, like of whether it's intelligence or like, I think that plays in as well. So this is about the fifth encounter, or encounters of the fifth kind, right?
Yep.
There's so many different ways to say that.
Yeah.
But it's, if I'm talking to something, or I'm astral projecting, or I'm doing any of that, like, I should be able to present myself on a frequency that, I don't want to say is harmless, but is familiar. Is that fair? Right? We even do that with people we grew up with and know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's,
well, that goes down to like the homogeneity again, right?
Yeah.
You know, everybody
like,
wants to be an individual. And so, yeah, like Mike said it perfectly, communism of the mind. It's like, yeah, you want the utopia, you got to conform.
And no, I don't think if we were to go somewhere else, we wouldn't even want to communicate with a conformist society. So why would we expect some other entity or being to want to do that? You know?
Right. Big Mike wants to say, he said he'd rather have the flux capacitor.
Shit, we all want a flux capacitor.
Yeah, but
Like
that's
that
gonna
we could.
that's gonna break the space-time continuum, and then there's gonna be paradoxes, and then you're gonna have to play Chuck Berry on a stage while your brother and sister slowly disappear.
Just jump to a different timeline where you are Chuck Berry and you'll be fine.
There you go. Yeah. Good
Aw,
old
and you
Back
have
to
to
the
get your-
Future. That'd be great.
Alright.
So have either of
Well-
you, well, I don't know if any of you guys have done like this exercise. But like I went to this yoga class one time and it was like a big group of people, and the teacher, it was like nobody really knew each other, and she was like, find somebody you don't know if you came here with a friend. So she paired up everybody with the stranger. And she played, like some James Blunt song or something really like emotionally moving or whatever. But you had to stare in this other person's eyes who you've never met for 3 minutes. Like she timed it. And it was really interesting because in the first minute, you heard a lot of nervous giggling. Then it got really quiet. And then there were like some tears shed. And it was just really interesting because towards the end, it was like she asked everybody what was communicated, like tell the other person what was communicated just by staring at them. And it was really funny because as we went around the room, it was like you can really get a sense of another person with no words. And so Keelan, when you were talking about like nonverbal communication or maybe the pitfalls of linguistics and things like that, it just made me think about the ways that we do nonverbally communicate, and not to go like the communist thought route, but to just say like there is something common and there is something that's like external but internal to all of us, which is interesting.
That anecdote, sorry. That anecdote right there perfectly describes what Keelan was talking about. You just said that, you just had that little anecdote, and I said to myself, nah. I would be the person that's like, nope, I don't care that you guys are connecting on a fifth dimensional level and everything. You're doing everything I believe in. The fact that you're doing it right now in this yoga class, I'm out. I'm out. I don't want any part of it.
But we already do that already. Just like that's just body language, right? For an extended amount of time.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just observe somebody, even if they're not observing you back, and you can pick up a pretty decent idea of that creature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the point in that exercise that Ayla just described, though, is also behind the intention of both people. And from what I heard her say, the breakdown for me went like that minute by minute thing was the nonverbal communication of, oh shit, I don't think I've stared at anybody for this long. And you mentally breaking down and somebody being able to see that unfold.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really weird to say. I've had to I don't think it was an exercise, but I used to, like, even as an adult, like in college, we were still having like staring contests.
Okay.
And I started kind of ascertaining that same, like, why do I know you so well? Like, oh crap, I've been staring at your eyes, literally just staring at you. And you feel like Mike said, the body language, all of that, like all of your social cues and clues kind of cue in immediately.
Yeah.
Because you're being vulnerable, they're being vulnerable. And but with that exercise, I think the part that doesn't kick in is the defense mechanism that most of us have as well. Because you guys were like Nick said, the opposite of where Nick would have been. You guys were willing to be open and to be vulnerable. I'm kind of with Nick. Like, I would have probably been like, oh, okay, wait, who's my partner? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
What if you did 90 minutes of yoga and then you're all relaxed? Would you
don't need any of
consider
that.
it?
You don't need any of that. You just
After
need
90
Well, you
minutes
don't
of
need
yoga,
it, but it is kind of fun to do.
Like,
I
I've
actually
done-
personally like yoga.
I've done this to y'all.
that's cheating.
Yeah, I've done this to all of y'all. And without I'm pretty sure you've done it to me at one point or time.
Yeah.
But you figure it out. It's not that hard of a test.
Well, yeah. But I mean, I'm sure we've all let our guards down around each other on multiple occasions. I think because Ayla just threw in a different to me. I'm listening to that story that she's telling and the layers of it. Like that's a whole psychological trick from the gate. They ask you to do that after 90 minutes of yoga.
Yeah.
Do you know what you can get people to say yes to after 90 minutes of yoga? They are so fatigued after that.
Yeah.
They're fatigued, they're relaxed, and in their mind, they're in their happy place physically and mentally.
Oh yeah. Well, your like chest is all opened, you know, like your shoulders. You're
Right.
standing with the best posture, and like, yeah.
It's meditation. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, that's
that.
not fair.
You're opening up your mind.
That's not fair.
It really isn't. It really isn't. And then you add like some like, you know.
So, are you worried about your truth of the meaning of life then? Once you do all that yoga, to move it on to the next episode.
Oh.
Yeah. We got to make sure that we get through this episode.
Yeah, I'm trying to churn this butter here, but
it's okay because the meaning of life is 2 parts, and then the next one is 3 parts. So we'll power through.
Oh yeah, we'll just get through the meaning of life real quick, guys.
We did it in 2 episodes. You guys. It's not that difficult.
So here's the thing, though. So like, if the meaning of life is subjective, then that whole experiment, the whole exercise that Ayla is talking about should expose the meaning of life to each other's human through nonverbal communication of staring each other down. And sure, maybe yoga might be the vehicle to disarm psychological defense mechanisms or disarm any sort of coping mechanisms. But I don't know if that gets to the individual meaning of life.
Yeah, I think that there's probably things that are communicated that aren't as nuanced. You know, like there's probably more emotional communication with that. I think is much more. I mean, it's a mixture of emotion and cerebralness. So I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was actually kind of cool. Got to look at the sort of the philosophies that we've cultivated over the years towards the attitudes about what the best way to live a life is. And I think that there was one of my favorites was the absurdism, right? Yeah. Absurdism is always a fun one.
The myth of Sisyphus.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that actually really enjoyed listening back to these episodes before, just because most of this is just sort of like I think we went through like 20 or so philosophies, and it was just kind of us talking about each one in short segments and kind of little bite-sized critiques of that stuff. So I thought that was a good episode for sure. It's fun.
Keelan, what do you think of the meaning of life is?
Yeah, what do you think of the meaning of life?
What do you think is the best way to live your life?
Oh wow, that's actually 2 different questions in my mind.
It's fair.
I'm gonna answer the latter, and that is the best way to live a life. I've actually changed that answer to that multiple times. I think everybody does throughout the course of their life. So today at 33, the best way to live a life, or my life at least, is with love. Just lead with love, be as humble as possible, and do more for others. That has definitely served me more than the years that I worried more about myself. Doing and thinking about others has gotten me, in my opinion, tenfold anything I was able to achieve when I was only worried about me. And that's financially and other things as well.
Yeah.
Reciprocation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, like the life of service is very much like a Bruce Lee answer. She asked him about that as well, and he said that as long as he lives serving others, then that's like the ultimate happiness. And I think that's true. I mean, in my life, my best moments have been helping other humans and not so much helping myself. There's a bit of shallowness that comes with that. Yeah. That comes with helping yourself rather than helping somebody else.
It's weird how it doesn't even feel as satisfying as you think it will.
Yeah.
And then you do something for somebody else and you're like, wait, that's the feeling I was looking. Damn. All right, fine.
Yeah.
I think too, like, I wonder if that's because you imagine yourself as somebody else. So you think that feeling is going to be like helping somebody else, but when you do it, you're not somebody else. You're yourself.
Yeah. Wow, that is a way to look at it.
Yeah.
See, look, and you just helped change a little bit of the way I see life, like
Hey.
the way to live it in
Aw.
That's
positive
the way
manner.
to do it. Yeah.
Hey man, take the grain with salt. I'm not the best human on this
Oh,
earth.
no.
That's for
Don't
damn
believe-
sure.
Can I be totally honest? I live by faith, not by religion per se, which is a whole discussion within itself.
Mhm.
I don't think the best people are the good people. Even if we were to go and look at most superhero stories, or like the generic ones, not the ones that are made to be all fantastic, the villain usually has more purpose for community and for benefit of others than the hero. The hero just wants their name to really hit the headlines, and that's about it.
Well, I appreciate that.
So yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
And it
I
does,
like it.
and it makes sense. A relatable villain is something that is a hard thing to write in a story for sure,
Mhm.
and it becomes far more relatable than the Superman. Like, why is Superman boring? Because it's Superman. There's no
Yeah.
flaws.
Unrelatable. No flaws.
Yeah.
Superman's boring until you find out on Krypton his dad was an asshat.
Right. Yeah. He was a nobody on Krypton.
Which means Kal-El would have just been another street punk like Aladdin.
Uh-oh.
Hey, call it.
Or until like what's her name dies too, right? And then he gets like red eyes, and then all of a sudden everything
Oh,
goes
yeah,
fucking
yeah, and he just-
sideways.
He just turns back into a high school punk all over again. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the
You gotta
Superman
call it
that
what it
takes
is.
over Earth is much more interesting than the one that saves Earth, to be honest.
Yes.
And I used to say
Yeah.
there was all these like teen dramas in the 90s, and then you have like your rom-com. A lot of time they'll have like the main, love interest, and then the two guys vying for her affection or whatever. There's always like a good one and a bad one. And every single time the good one ends up doing the worst thing and the bad one ends up doing the best thing, and you're like, "Oh, they and I mean that's movie world, but
Right.
Right,
With you saying that, what? Really quick, another movie that's kind of about the meaning of life, right? The Karate Kid. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy?
That's
oh my
right.
gosh, that's so true. After
Cobra
I saw
Kai,
the
Cobra
TV,
Kai, Cobra
yeah,
Kai.
when I saw the TV show, I was like, "Oh my god, he has
Now,
such
mind
a
you-
compelling case."
Mind you,
and he
I've
hates
never watched
Machio.
Cobra Kai. I literally just one day I was having that discussion with somebody, and they were like, "Have you ever thought about that?" And I stopped and I looked back, like, "Oh dang, he was. Yeah, he
Stole
wasn't the
his
good guy."
girlfriend.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Stole his
But
girl,
how
man.
many movies are like that?
It's all fun and games until somebody gets kicked in the head.
Yeah, an illegal kick at a tournament where you're not allowed to kick in the head.
Right. Well, and
Unless-
speaking of villains, I saw this meme and I had to share it. So they had a picture of Scar, and they're like, "Show me a Disney character that went harder than Scar." And someone's like, "Oh, it's hands down Maleficent because she cursed a baby over the fact that she wasn't invited to the first birthday party."
Yeah, that is real. That's some
Maleficent, she's
petty
like my
shit.
favorite villain. Yeah, that is some petty. No, actually, no. It may actually be.
Wait,
Wait.
didn't she?
No,
Didn't she
Maleficent
know
was
them?
the evil witch, huh?
Yeah,
Well,
but
when
didn't
you
she
look-
know them for like a lifetime, and then she wasn't
Probably.
invited?
Yeah,
She was in love
Probably.
with her dad.
they dissed her.
Right. And that's the thing, is the more you learn about the backstories of the villains, you're like, well, golly, this is just like a misunderstood.
Although let's be fair, Angelina Jolie's Maleficent is a retcon of the character. She was
Yes.
never going to be that in the cartoon.
Yeah.
So
But she's evil. It's not that she
Ah.
wasn't evil. She was definitely evil.
yeah.
So can I
Angelina
pull it back?
Jolie's Maleficent's much more nuanced. Yeah.
Can I pull
Right.
it back from the nuances of of the golden age of Disney, which they'll never return to
I know.
unless they have a damn
Enjoy it
miracle
while it
happen.
lasted.
Yeah.
I don't want
Um,
to know which ones were the golden ages.
Oh man, it's all those '90s VHS, not the ones that went like straight to VHS, but
Yeah, but the standards, the box sets. you
Yeah,
know.
Oh, okay. I
yeah,
thought
like
we were talking
Lion
about-
King 1, but not Lion King 2.
That's
Lion
right.
King 1.
Man, say it again. Say it louder
Yeah.
for those in the back. Oh, didn't we just have
Lion
this discussion, Nick?
Chewing
yeah.
on
Uh-huh.
is not canon.
No, it's
Chewing
not.
on, not.
A moment of silence for what they did to the Lion King series.
Bro, do you guys remember Aladdin 3 where he just like randomly
No.
had a dad
Yes.
again?
He not only had a dad, he had a whole
Okay.
city of brothers.
All right,
Yeah,
now
that's right.
we've thrown the meaning of life into nothingness.
Yes,
That's what
yes.
all of those sequels are. It's just
pretty much.
You want to know the meaning of life? Go watch The Beauty and the Beast.
Oh.
That's a think piece.
Mhm.
That's
There you
a
go.
think piece right there. Nobody understands Beauty and the Beast the way I understand Beauty and the Beast. It's filthy.
Stockholm syndrome?
Yes, Stockholm. No, really, Nick. Like for real.
Well,
That's how you get women.
It
That's how you
is.
get women. You imprison them until they fall in love with you. Obviously.
I'm
Oh
happy.
my gosh.
I'm happy
Took
things
what he
have never
wanted.
changed from like
Look.
clubbing them over the head and then dragging them back into a cave. I'm happy.
Right.
I'm not on video, but I'm shaking my head.
I just want to be very clear. I understood as a kid that it was wrong, but I also understood as a kid it takes a lot of heart to say, "Oh, you'll stay and I can leave you." Hey, old man, get up out of here! I got me a new young thing. Like, whoa, what? What is going on?
All right. We've gone off the rails completely. I gotta bring it back. I gotta bring it back.
All right, bring it back. Next one.
The meaning of life.
Next episode, we're just gonna do the hard segue, not even like a smooth transition.
Oh,
Mhm.
what's the next episode?
Return to the gateway experience, because
I'm
now
taking it back.
now
way back.
all of our holocrons from each individual hologram. Holocron is a Jedi thing or
Mhm.
a Star Wars thing. Our holograms have become so disjoint. We need to combine them together.
Got to solidify them again. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
absolutely.
my segue.
Hey. Yeah. No, I am so glad that we finished that series. Again, it took 9 episodes to get through it, but I think that each episode gets better and better. Especially since the first 3 were the first 3 episodes that Ayla and I did of the podcast period. So yeah,
It's
it's
like 13 and a half hours.
oh yeah. It's a long compendium of information, and Ayla does a great job reading through all of that stuff.
Aw,
And
thank
then being able to talk about the paragraphs and stuff was a lot of fun.
I just have to ask really quick. There
Yeah.
was 9 of those. I thought there was 5 of those episodes.
Oh yeah. There was originally 5, and then we finished out. I think there were 6 originally, and then we finished out 3. Yeah,
So I have to go and find the ones that I had missed because
I put them
I
all
was
on a
there with- I
playlist
was
in
there
our
for
on our
those.
YouTube.
okay, I got it.
Yeah, if you go to our YouTube, it's under the CIA Gateway.
I
playlist.
remember like literally I would be getting off of work or driving from somewhere or making dinner and it'd be like, all right, what's the CIA talking about tonight?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was a great just sort of resource to have, especially launching the podcast, because it really just kind of jump started all of the things that we like to talk about anyways, and gave it sort of this anchor point for us to talk about it further. And I will mention one thing to you guys. I'll share this really quick, because I'm pissed. Ever since we started it, bro.
Hey, don't worry. Being a pioneer comes with sacrifice.
Yeah, but now we got Vice articles about
Mhm.
according how to escape the confines of time and space according to the CIA, and it just goes through the Gateway experience.
In
Yeah.
like 2 pages.
Yeah.
Try 13 hours, Vice. Ah.
You know they didn't. They listened to all those. They didn't even read anything.
You
If
guys
there's
did the
any
homework
sort of
for them.
like
Yeah.
And that's
You guys
that's,
definitely did the
research.
footnotes for them.
It's R&D.
But it is funny because once we started doing those episodes, I think it's like when you get a car, you start to see that car everywhere.
Mhm.
But it's like
Mhm.
once we started doing those episodes, I started seeing people posting the Gateway experience everywhere online. And I'm
Now,
like, oh,
fuck that.
cool. It's
We're-
in the zeitgeist.
They've all listened. Our podcast was reposted and then listened to again.
Hey, I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Now I have to ask from that statement and that experience with that. And again, you guys did so great on those. I'm literally really like, nah, I gotta go find the rest of those last couple that I didn't get. I'm gonna learn something.
Thanks, Keelan.
Yeah,
Look,
we appreciate you.
can I be honest?
Hmm.
I would not be able to read through it. So you guys did the hard part for me. All I got to do is listen and find something to do because I can listen and do shit on the move. Most
Right.
people can't do that, and I'm lucky enough to be able to do that. So thank you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks to the pandemic, you know, I don't know that I would have
Yeah.
sat down and read all of that had I not a couple extra hours of time on my hands. So,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
But just what you were saying, Nick, about the noticing the pickup of that information by other people,
Mhm.
like that Man on the Moon experience, right? Was the Truman story, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The Truman Show.
The Truman Show, right? Thank you.
Mhm.
It's sometimes I used to feel when I was younger like nobody else gets it, and then I saw that movie and I was like, everybody else gets it. Like it's like we all go through that in
Yeah.
some way for some reason, and it's crazy.
Totally. Yeah. And I think that that's one of those documents that really just inspires imagination for people. So it makes sense why people keep returning to it, because it's really thorough and it's incredibly imaginative, and it's got everything you're looking for. It's got, you know, answers about the universe, answers about certain sciences, answers about meditation, what the government was up to in the 50s. You know, it's a good time.
Is society crazy or are they liars?
Yeah.
Footnotes, they're liars.
Right. That is true.
But I think the scarier notion is the interaction between all of us. That the reality that we end up making, like we've all heard the thing that one person can change the world, right? And most of us just kind of like just at it, like sort of like say like fuck that, one person can't change anything.
Mhm.
But what all the gateway experience does is kind of imply that if you have that ripple effect across holograms or
Mhm.
across fifth dimension or across anything like that, then you actually are subtly shifting
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And then if you look at things like a quantum event, then that even enforces that idea, even outside of like for me, I always go back to the romantic scope of finding a romantic soulmate. But even outside of that, now if you're quantumly entwined with your friends, then you're shifting their lives in subtle ways that you don't even know just by mere thoughts. Hence, why people should pray for others or why people should send out good vibes for others, just to shift their reality a little bit. And
Yeah.
that is terrifying.
It is. Yeah. The implications of that are enough to leave you in a bubble, like Howard Hughes just peeing into jars in a room, you know.
But if they're lying, then that's all. Then you don't have to worry.
Right. Then it's all
That's
good.
just
Don't
all
worry
far
about
more
it.
comforting.
Yeah. Right. But no, you're right. Like those subtle shifts, and that's all it really takes, right? It's like it's the tiniest nudge. It's the snowflake that causes the avalanche. It's just, you know, like, yeah. And it is kind of like a weird thing to think about, because we are all subtly affecting each other's realities. I'm still interested to see how that effect plays out in the digital sphere, because I know it does work, but I think it has different mechanisms. So I think there's an interesting juxtaposition between the mechanisms of like physical entanglement and then digital entanglement.
Keelan, may I, before you, because I know you wanted to say something, but may I add one more question to the thing that you were going to say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think that this digital space or social media and all of that, even coming from a if numbers could talk space, which is the podcast you host that you should listen to every Tuesday
Oh yeah.
at 8:00? Is it Tuesdays, Thursdays, or just Tuesdays?
Tuesdays only.
Okay, Tuesdays at 8:00, correct?
Yes, indeed. I appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, of course. Do you think that this digital space has now added more pressure to the reality that people face?
No.
Huh.
That is, and the short answer is no, because of people's willingness, and that really kind of does play into what I was thinking, which is the way people work, like as far as being influenced by each other. Like, yeah, we are becoming broader in that spectrum, and the reason I don't think that the digital sphere will play as much into it, information only reaches people who are willing to find out about it or people who already know about it. So if you don't speak the vocabulary, people can literally give you the key to a safe with $10 million in it, and you would have no clue what they're talking about because you don't know what to look for and you don't know how to internalize those words, right?
The James Harden defense.
Damn, basically, yeah. Yeah, if you don't know how to guard it, it's you're over it. If you don't see it, you don't get it. But so within all of that, you also can't make anybody else see it the way you see it. And my question that I was going to add to this was, from that side of it, is it fair of us to even want people to see it our way when we know how scary it is on the other side of that glass?
Yes.
I agree.
Because I don't mean to like jump in front of anybody. I don't mean to be rude or drunk. I've been drinking quite a bit, but I do think that it's imprudence to shake people to the point of realization. If they choose to ignore that realization, then that's copacetic. That's fine, right? But I feel like we have to get people to the point of understanding that they are lacking or that they're choosing to be ignorant. And there's nothing wrong with choosing to be ignorant of things, right? Like I've been in plenty of places where I've been discriminated against, and I chose to be ignorant because that made the whole situation easier. But that was my choice in that situation. And so I think within the whole scope of everything, we should present that information, and then if the person chooses to ignore it, then that's fine. Like with James Harden, you choose to show him how to guard people. If you choose how to show him how to do shit, great. But if he doesn't do it, that's his play style. You have no after that, you can't do anything.
Doesn't even make sense to him.
Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why, okay, so from a technological stance, right? Or a technology stance, I'll give you a perfect example that's right in front of us every day. You have three things that are on the internet that people are being advertised and they don't really know what it is, so they kind of just look past it. One of those things are coding classes, right? Like there's a free coding class or something popping up I say 4 to 5 ads. Every 4 to 5 ads, one of those is going to be something based on tech. And people are looking right past it because they don't understand it or they don't know. Or it's going to be about trucking or one of the industries that are very necessary right now. And the only thing they're seeing is, apply. So they think it's just a regular job application, but they could be applying to be a dispatcher or run the business or anything of that nature. But if they don't understand the complexity of what that industry is, doesn't matter. You can tell them it's Popeye's chicken. And in fact, even that.
Yeah.
Even that, you'll see Popeye's chicken and not know that it may be telling you how to own a franchise versus how to apply to be a cashier.
Yeah, there's a big difference, of course, between like being a manager and like I was a bag boy and I was a cashier, but there's a big difference between those things and then running the store that I'm working a part of. And so with coding, there's a very difficult thing because you get confused with words where like I can teach you how to be a coder, but it becomes infinitely more difficult to teach you how to become a computer scientist. And it's the difference of complexity. I can teach you very concretely where you see certain problems, where you should do certain things, versus a coder versus or even use certain tools, right? Like you see a problem, I'm like, hey, you use a hammer for this problem, right? You don't use the hammer for that problem. You use an axe for this problem.
Exactly.
It's the same sort of thing versus looking at a problem and being like, I can't use the hammer or the axe, but if I combine the two, it would solve this situation in a very efficient manner that the two cannot. And the same goes to regards with trucking or any sort of industry that becomes very complex, even running a store. Running a store is extremely complex. Like I have respect for managers, for DMs, for anybody that like even I have respect for shift supervisors as well. Anyone who's like a managerial point of view, because that's a whole different class of problems that you have to deal with. And that's sort of the difference in scope that we are or discussing, but delineating between the two becomes a very important thing, and it becomes a scale of problem solving. So like everybody, not everybody, this is bad. If you want to learn to code, please learn to code. It's very useful. But know that that's not going to be a pathway to make you rich. Just as the same way as you can learn to play a sport, but if you never learn the complexities behind the sport, you may not become a pro. Right?
Yeah.
Like you can learn to play the sport, but that doesn't necessarily make you a pro.
Right. And that's really exactly how you broke that down. Is perfect, because that's exactly what I mean. If you don't know what something is, they could put all the language in front of you, and it's just another advertisement to you. It's nothing more, nothing less. But to the person that it makes sense to, oh, it's a mountain of information, or it's nothing at all, and they probably superseded that to what you were saying.
That but I think what's important is the curiosity. Like if I can learn at this age and as many cigarettes as I've smoked to become a professional football player, I'd fucking love to do it. I would be the shortest running back you've seen since the Rams in St. Louis had that running back that was like 5'9" or 5'8".
How tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
Nah, you wouldn't be the shortest. I think there's a few 5'6" dudes in the NFL right now.
Yeah, but still though, I'm on that short. Like, so my dad never got me into football, especially as a kid, because I was much shorter. Because he was worried about concussions. My dad was a high school football player and a linebacker coach and a defensive coordinator in high school, in like a prestigious private sort of high school league.
His job was to teach kids to give other kids snot bubbles.
Yeah, yeah. And the crazy thing was that he was shorter than me in high school, so I was like maybe 5'6", 5'7", but he was like 5'4", 5'5", 5'6", and playing like playing outside linebacker
14.
and playing tail guard.
Psychopath.
Yeah, just not what those hikes and weights should be playing, if at all. And it's those sorts of insights though that can help you see the delineation between these problems.
Oh yeah,
Experiential knowledge.
Yeah, saw damage, and then that's it. Experiential knowledge, exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
You saw that up close. But yeah,
Which comes into question about life as a craft, right? Like, how do you build generational wealth? You build a generational hologram, to get back to the gateway experience, where you can pass your kids the knowledge that you have and the wisdom that you have. And they might break that because they may not be in the position to be able to be the most advantageous in the position that they have. But they can figure out new things because they have the wisdom that you handed down to them.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
I can't add anything to that.
Very nice.
That's exactly how generational wealth works. Yeah.
Cool. Can we move on? Are we good with the gateway experience?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm still trying to. I gotta play the role of host.
We'll do a remastered version at some point. Make Ayla read it all over again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, reading.
Oh well.
His own reading assignment.
When Nick walked away, that's when I asked the question: was it fair of us to get other people to see through the lenses?
And I took over. I'm sorry.
No. You answered the question. Actually, that's what actually brung on your answer and got us that far. But without us diving in, Nick and Ayla, do you guys agree or disagree that it is fair? Mike and I both agree that it is fair of us to try to get people to see beyond the lens that they're currently looking through and see what's on the other side of the glass. Do you guys agree with that?
I think that there's merit to it, but I think that it takes a level of intimacy that that we all don't have with just anybody. You know, like because it takes a little bit of trust, it takes a little bit of vulnerability in order to deconstruct a paradigm to sort of present a new one. And a lot of people don't like having their paradigms deconstructed, to be honest. Like they don't like that. So it takes trust. It takes, like you have to you have to know that the person trying to deconstruct your paradigm isn't trying to just destroy your worldview, but trying to give you something more, maybe, or teach you something at least.
Yeah, I want to add that to my answer earlier. I'm willing to debate it. I'm not willing to argue it. Once we get to arguing people's beliefs, I back out. So,
Yeah, it's hard.
I could be a devil's advocate. Ayla, what do you think?
I was just listening to you guys. I kind of just like the idea of being just generally curious. You know, I had this really great experience tutoring math when I was in high school. And I probably shared this before, but what I kind of observed was that, like, I'm pretty good at intuiting where, like, formulas are going or where the math, like, I understand the math books, like, pretty easily. But other people who would have trouble with it, I couldn't teach them until I understood how they were seeing it. And then, you know, I would see what they're seeing, the quote incorrect way, and I'd be like, gosh, now I can't unsee this. How the hell, like, this doesn't make sense. And so then I'd have to fight my way to be like, oh, okay, well, this is where this is the issue. But then having personal experiences where, like, formulas didn't add up, and then you talk to your teacher and they're like, well, in the next chapter they basically disprove that, and there's like a shorter way, or there's a different way, or if you take it to the multivariable level, that's true, you know, like, so you start to understand that the more you know you don't know. And yeah, and so lately I've just try to be more curious about stuff. You know, I don't want to impose knowledge on people, but I do like having conversations that might land on islands of, like, new information for both of us, and that's stimulating to me.
I think that reinforces the divine intuition that you talked about earlier.
Oh, like staring into their eyeballs, but instead it's like staring into their mental processes.
Yeah, but you've been through 1,000 or 1,000,000 mental processes. So you know, you can kind of figure out the topology of their mental processes as an island.
Yeah.
Because when everybody's alone, they are an island, and we just have trade routes between our islands at the end of the day, at least I think.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, because I mean, fundamentally, we will never know that other minds outside of our own exist. We tend to believe it's true, but I mean, like, deep down, you don't know. And so it's good to see the places where there's not agreement, because it's like, well, that didn't come from me. Or did it? No, it didn't. And but then, like, when you talk, you're like, oh, maybe I'm just understanding myself more, or the process more, or perspective more. And I think that's kind of been a saving grace for me, especially over the last year.
Or we're
being
just
really
AI
curious.
algorithms arguing with each other to learn more.
Dude,
Hey, yeah,
or
adversarial, all of us. Hey,
We're
if
the
all of y'all are
intelligence.
AIs and I'm the only human sitting here, you're a great Turing test, but I might
Hey,
be
there
the
you
only
go.
AI sitting here, and all of y'all are my
knows?
Turing test.
Right?
I have to tell you, if anything's going to send me on a 5150 hold, it's going to be the fact that I know somebody who's building these secret AI universes, and that, like, I might not be real.
Who are you? Who
Hey,
does
listen,
that?
I
Who
just
built
wanna know-
that? What are you talking about?
Right. If any of
Oh.
us weren't real and that was happening, who would program anxiety and depression? Screw that person.
Yeah,
That's
who
the
indeed?
devil.
Look, I gotta go use the bathroom real quick. So the next episode is Utopia, and I'm gonna trust all of y'all lovely individuals who have been hosts on this podcast or other podcasts to carry the conversation.
We don't know what we're doing. We're gonna. The
until
whole
I'm
place is
back.
gonna burn down by the time you're back. What are you talking about? All right.
Okay.
I got
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lighter. Let's go.
So yeah, Utopia was a good one. That was a fun concept again. I feel like that's kind of one of those that is a human. It's a battle that humanity has been wrestling with forever, and so yeah, I mean, like, to me, it's fascinating, this idea that we could get to a perfect world, and why that idea is so seducing. to the point where you would create hell on earth in order to achieve your perfect world. That to me seems like such a paradox, almost a poetic irony of the universe, that we as humans are programmed to want this perfect Eden world, and we're willing to destroy whatever it takes in order to get there.
What else would we do
Like-
for our perversions?
Right. I know. But to me, it just seems like a cosmic irony. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? What do you think, Ayla?
Well, we were talking off air a couple like weeks ago about lifestyle creep, and the idea that you live within your means, and then you get a better job or a raise, and suddenly you're living within your means. Then you get another raise, and you're suddenly living within your means. And I mentioned that because there's this concept of like gradations, and like, oh gosh, there's like so many concepts that I'm like thinking of right now with just this topic. But I think it's okay. It's the idea that like we do have the potential to never be pleased with our circumstances. Even in a perfect world, we can't guarantee the nature of a human. Like we still don't know that fundamentally, or experientially, or a priori, or whatever. And I think that my mind is a little bit scattered. I might kind of circle back to some of these ideas, but I think it is interesting that like the better things get, the more we see that needs to be improved. And eventually I wonder to what extent we rob ourselves of peace in the moment by always aspiring to get that better thing down the way. So I think it's like, I don't know, if time isn't real, you could just fold the two realities onto one another and then see what sticks if that were a thing, but you can't. So yeah, we're like doomed to always want the thing that like we just can't grasp.
Yeah, I actually agree exactly with that, Ayla. That's really what I was saying with just the idea, whether we're talking about of a utopia or the adverse of a utopia, which is a dystopia, right? Which level of perversion are people willing to go to, and whatever that is that they are interested, or whatever that satiates their needs, or what they feel is their level of the level of satisfaction they're looking for, like that's what people want. And I think that kind of falls into the belief category. Like once they believe they need it, once they believe it makes them get all of the fuzzy feelings that they're looking for and the butterflies floating around, who's going to stop them besides themselves? And they've already slapped the battery in their own back and said, this is what's necessary.
Yeah. It's like the ultimate externality of happiness. It's like society won't be happy until we get to this point, you know?
Right. And unfortunately, you can't be happy when you're working that hard to be happy, because you have to work.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So before I preface, I'm going to preface the argument with this. I'm a big human of faith as well. Is this not the fallacy of faith, though, that everything works out, like that it becomes the utopic place that ends up causing us to run into a dystopic thing? Like if we work too hard in our faith, then we end up in a shithole.
Yeah, I think that's why instead, like, not, I know you're speaking of faith in the more broader term, but in the religious term, utopia is always after death, because we as humans realize that if we're trying to create it while we're alive, we're going to kill a lot of people. So it's always promised to you after you're off this rock, so you don't impose it on everybody else.
Yeah. In the name of.
Yeah.
But look at the things that you had to do in the name of.
Right.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah. I mean, but I think that, yeah, like Ayla was saying, it's that ramping up effect. We are so adaptive as humans. We adapt to our environment, and then we hit a sort of stasis, and then we want more, and then we ramp it up, and we get to the stasis, then we want more. And we can do that as a society, right? It's like we have this project that we want to do. We ramp that up, we get to there, and then it's like, all right, well, it's not over yet. We got to get to this thing,
What's the next drug?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's your favorite philosophy and the meaning of life was absurdism, next absurdism,
Mm-hmm.
where you push the rock up the hill, the rock rolls back down, and you push it back up again. Doesn't necessarily have to be the same hill, I think.
No.
That's the misguide. Yeah, there's a thing in machine learning where you have local and global minimums, like the lowest points, and maximums are the highest points. You have to try to work to get to the global maximum. And I think that's like the absurdist thing where you push the rock down the hill, or you push the rock up the hill to go back down to the bottom of the hill, but you're hoping that the bottom of the hill was higher than the last bottom of the hill that you were at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating. It's very fascinating.
And in a numerical sense, you're working towards a statistical utopia where everybody, or where you're performing at the perfect place, and you've gotten up to the highest of highs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's dangerous.
It is, but I think that it's also just human. We're always striving for that, like Ayla said, that thing that's just out of reach.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, and if we're being honest, like in 3 words, what is perfection?
Right. It's just this
lot of
thing
time
that we
wasted.
hold in our head. Yeah.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
lot of time wait. Like that's perfection is a concept, it's a thought. And if we were to ever achieve it, I'd assume it would have to be death.
You know, the first 3 words that came to mind, me, myself, I.
That's pretty much the only real answer.
It's the only
Ayla
thing you
Soul
can-
would agree with you.
Right.
Well, and you know, that's funny too, because the mind is a powerful thing, and it can make a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. I don't know what that's from, but it is a quote somewhere, and it's an important one, I think, because it is true. We, you know, again, if all we know that is technically real is our thoughts, and our thoughts is our consciousness, and our consciousness is still a mystery, it is worthwhile to consider what power that has over our perceptions, our experiences, our filters. So yeah.
Yeah, no, the mind is an engine where it drives. So that's up to you.
Right.
So true. Mm-hmm.
But if multiple people are working towards some utopia, could they fall into some sort of synchronicity between each other, or find a synchronous event, some sort of meaningful coincidence, like we explored in the next episode after Utopia?
Oh.
Bam. There you go.
Bam.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Segways. That Segway had 3 wheels.
There you go. Nice.
It's like those fancy
One more zip.
go-karts.
Yeah.
Those fancy go-karts you see on the street.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Oh, this was my episode, wasn't it? Synchronicity?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dude, synchronicity. This episode almost drove me insane. There was this book I was reading. I can't remember what it is, but they were getting into like the history of physicists grappling with the concept of synchronicity, from Einstein to quantum theorists to unified field theorists to mathematicians. And it was coupled with this series of lectures that I was watching by like this guy on epigenetics. And anyway, synchronicity, it's weird. And it's one of those things that's like aligned with the woo-woo, but then it also has like some serious implications for like the way we understand our world. So I mean, this was a fun episode to do, actually. And it's one I'd love to circle back to in like a year.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed this episode. I always get really romantic when it comes to synchronicity, only due to personal experience, because I've
It's a
read
good
into
movie,
one or
too.
two. Yeah, right. Don't really know how great the ending would be, but the ending would be good enough to make a movie. But the like it always pulls at my heartstrings when I think of synchronicity. Like I don't even take it to the science level, just because it had such an emotional effect on me.
It resonates on like that human eyeball to eyeball level. There is something about it.
And it's like the curtain being pulled back, like Keelan mentioned, the Truman Show.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that feeling like your entire life is some sort of elaborate set play that, you know,
Yeah.
like pieces are falling into place, you know, and you know, encounters of happenstance and fortune, all that kind of stuff. So it is intrinsically itself romantic because it makes kind of almost a play out of your life. Makes you
Of,
feel like the main protagonist.
of all the gin joints in the world, she had to walk into mine.
That's right. Exactly.
Going to
Yeah.
gin joints.
The world is a stage.
They were back in the 40s.
Gin joints. Oh man.
Yeah,
Well,
in
I'd actually.
Casablanca, you only got like the gin joint or nowhere else.
Mhm.
Oh, is that what they called it in the movie? Oh, I need to watch that
Yeah,
again.
and that was Rick's place. So like the girl that he loved who ended up getting married, and she comes back, but he's sitting there, and like she walks in, and like he's getting drunk later with his piano player. And he just goes, of all the gin joints of the world, she had to walk into mine. It's like one of the
Aw.
more famous movie quotes if you're
Mhm.
into like black and white and older films.
Yeah. Well, speaking of quotes, there's one I'd love to share from the episode. I think you guys will jive with it, but it's like several lines long. May I? Should I?
waiting.
Go for it.
Okay. It says synchronistic phenomena prove the simultaneous occurrence of meaningful equivalences in heterogeneous, causally unrelated processes. In other words, they prove that a content perceived by an observer can, at the same time, be represented by an outside event without any causal connection. From this, it follows either that the psyche cannot be localized in space, or that space is relative to the psyche. The same applies to the temporal determination of the psyche and the psychic relativity of time. I do not need to emphasize that the verification of these findings must have far-reaching consequences. I mean, that's some juicy stuff right there, right?
Yeah, it's like the biocentrism of the holographic universe, all of that stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
The affirmations from the Matrix.
It's
And
the
then,
question that drives us.
like too, like when you're in a mood, right? You create the space around you versus the space creating you.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
usually due to some synchronistic event that's happened to you while you're off somewhere else where you're in the space. And that's where the psyche becomes in question as being an absolute of reality.
Right.
Mhm.
Ooh, wow. You know that. Dang, those were all so much better in the way I want to phrase it, but I'm going to phrase it the way I was going to phrase it anyway.
Do it.
It's
Just
just
be
Do it.
hey, just be just be raw, just be real.
right. No,
I
it
have
just-
years of training with this shit, so it's nothing like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't catch that. But it makes me think of the brain like a computer, or even experiences like a computer. You get a new word, you see something new. And it's kind of what we were saying about the lens a minute ago. You introduce something new, there's a new gateway, a new directory, a whole new ward, and it's either going to be empty or you're going to find a way to fill it up, man.
Yeah. Think
That's-
about how the
It's weird, but that's really how it all works out, or how it sounds like it all works out.
think about how the space around you changed once you met like your wife.
Mhm.
Think about how the reality changed, right? There's a shift in it.
She might become a different person.
Right?
Literally.
This shift can become that hard, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that anymore. It's like, huh? I'm not that
Or
person
might
anymore.
you might, or even on the opposite side, you might like,
Want to do things you never thought.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you go skydiving? What?
Right.
I know how that happened.
How did I get brave all of a sudden?
You call it brave. Other people call it other things. I'm just gonna say that.
I've been stupid much more than once or twice in my life.
Like, hey, let's go ziplining over this ravine. Nah, I'll meet you on the other side. There's a riverboat, right? I'll tell you what it looked like from down there. Don't worry.
They have drinks on the riverboat too.
Exactly.
Different
By the time I get to the
perspectives
end
are
of that zip
important.
line, I look like y'all have fun.
Yeah.
But when you're go for it, Ayla.
Oh, I was just gonna say I like the distinction they make about causal connections and things that like seem to have a connection but don't really have a connection, and this concept of cause and effect, which is a function of time, should time exist. And I just wanted to bring that up because I think like a lot of things get a little wonky when you start playing with the assumptions that we never questioned, and I think that was a cool way that they phrased that, I think.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. But like in like I behave like time doesn't exist, but in social circumstances I assume time exists. Does that make sense? Like that.
If you say 7, I know what you mean.
Like if you assume time, then you have cause and effect, and that becomes far more relatable to others. You can build systems of synchronicity. But if you disregard all of that, then it becomes very hard to connect to anybody else.
Right. I think, and it's funny. I didn't even really push it past the level of to the level of synchronicity, because once we started talking about space, it made me think of the brain. And the reason it made me think of the brain in that way, what's that causal
Causal connections.
It reminded me of memories.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have those really strong, really fine memories, but then there's certain things that remind you of it, and you're like, wait, why does that remind me of that?
No.
So like for me, the smell of burning motor oil gives me a specific image, time, place, feeling, smell, everything. Like even sometimes I feel like I'm still wearing the clothes of that day. And I can't tell you why that, like, it could have been the rain, could have been what triggered it. Any other thing in that situation could have triggered it, but burning motor oil reminds me of an event where I saw like a car spin out and slide over the curb and all kind of crap. But I mean, I was even eating breakfast. Maybe, if French toast could have become the thing that makes me think of that for the rest of my life, but it's not. Yeah. Sometimes we also don't choose what those connections are, is kind of my point.
No, that's true. There's streaks.
Imprints.
Yeah, there's streaks that I drive down that end up causing those imprints to play out in actions, and like in movies in the back of my mind. It's just certain, maybe that's growing up in the city or something, but that's sure. Those memories are triggered through that, and it makes me ponder synchronicity as a whole. Like those, I hope those moments had to happen for a reason. Otherwise, then it all goes fucking sideways.
Yeah. Fortunately for life, I think every moment happened for a reason, and especially the ones that stick to us the longest or the most. I think those are the most pivotal. And that's where, for me, synchronicity definitely comes into play, because there's somebody going through what we went through 20 years ago, going through it right this very moment.
Yeah,
there's
but
somebody doing it, like literally walking the exact same path as us, and somebody, either we were or someone else was able to help them, or they're not. But that's kind of where that all comes full circle for me.
But isn't that great, though, as we get older, that we get to help those people through those moments?
Exactly.
Like we get to help the David fight the Goliath of their moments that they're forming now.
Right? Like, imagine if David only had to, what did he have? 4 attempts?
No, he only had one, but he dropped all his armor. But he had lots of wisdom dropped on him before then. He had people telling him what he should do. But he
Oh
was
my
trying
god.
to-
Well, imagine if he
Wasn't
didn't
there an
listen.
episode on that?
Yeah, that's our next episode.
Seamless.
That's our next episode that we were going to talk about was David and Goliath.
Oh, fancy.
But yeah, no, David had a lot of people telling him what he should do because he was the unlikely hero.
Mhm.
And that's our own life too. Like that Truman Show experience that you're talking about, that thing that we end up creeping upon as we get older. We feel like we're gonna have to fight against something, and it could be of our past where we are now no longer David, but somebody trying to give wisdom to David to fight their own Goliath. Because everybody has a Goliath in their story.
All right. Sometimes you've created that Goliath for yourself, unfortunately.
Yeah, that becomes I think most times we do, sadly. I think if you have an external Goliath, then that's pretty good.
Wow. Sorry.
No, man, go for it. Expound.
A book I'm reading right now, actually, there is a moment that's way at the beginning of the book, and it just jumped back out to me, where I'll say the protagonist, but it's really a biography. But this person realized that they were the biggest obstacle in their own way when they were literally told, if you stop running your mouth sometimes, you probably would have saw a couple of those punches coming. And then from there, kind of talking to the person about the type of language they were using, and that molded literally every decision they made from like the 10th grade into being a 40, 50 something year old man today, which is nuts. But yeah.
Should I tell you probably the worst experience of my life that expounds on that too? It's actually beneficial to this conversation because it's me creating a Goliath out of myself.
Mhm.
There was a moment in my life where I failed spectacularly well, where like it was years, maybe close to decades of work all culminated into a single experience. And the culmination of work came from trying to separate the work itself into two completely different lives out of the fact that they were two completely different scopes of work, one being psychological and the other one being very technical. And it all culminated in the sense in one line where I said, I'm sorry I couldn't shut my fucking mouth. And that one line, because the language I use, ended up determining multiple years of my life after that. That's when you go from a David to creating Goliath out of your entire life. And
Yeah.
it becomes a very grounding experience as a human, because then you, like in a weird way, you cut the head off of your own snake. So it's like good and bad, and like you were saying in the story, Keelan, like this determined his decisions for decades, and that's that the choice of language and the decisions made end up being true to the points of even now, of when I'm at least in the most conscious of decision making choices.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's how it all lines up. I don't think many people are told early enough in life that they are their biggest obstacle, and so we run into any small thing and we put it on. Oh, someone else put it in front of me, and like, nah, you kind of just walked into that, and you thought you were the big bad gorilla that was going to walk through the wall. That wall's not moving, buddy. You got to find a way over it.
Dude, but is that not like an important life lesson that we should tell? Like, I had a few questions for my pops where I asked him, like, why didn't he tell me this wisdom or this wisdom? And he had the wisdom on him to tell me, like, you have to learn that on your own. You have to actually experience that. So is there not a little bit of it where, like, we have to force the younger generations to just experience that failure?
Yes and no. I don't know if anybody else has an answer for this as well. I believe we share information not to prevent someone from going through something. It's a big difference in going through something for 5 years and going through something for 5 minutes.
Mhm.
right? So that's one. But at the exact same time, some people who have the experience don't have the tools to teach someone how to get through it.
Yeah.
Everybody can't teach. That's the part that does suck. So sometimes that's why I really believe it's more important to share the experience than to worry about if someone else is going to follow those same steps, but share the experience. And now they know that they can get through it and it doesn't probably seem as taxing.
Yeah.
So,
It's like handing somebody a Thomas guide when they're going to drive through Death Valley. They're like, no, I have my GPS. Don't worry about it. And you're just like, no, here, just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case. You know, you may not need it, but
And
if you get lost, then you know you have at least a tool to get yourself out.
And it's a long trip. It'll be a long time before they thank you. But if they need it,
right,
they will thank you.
Right.
Do you want to tell some of our listeners what a Thomas guide is?
Oh man, for you Zoomers out there,
It's called a map.
Yeah.
Not the app on your phone. Like
It's
a
so true.
paper. You
But do you
open it up.
I couldn't even have said MapQuest because they wouldn't know what that is.
Well, and it's funny because you have to. I think you had to remember the zip code, right? So the index would have all the zip codes, and then you look up the street,
Is
and
it a
then it'll
book?
give you the page and
Yes.
coordinates.
What are you talking
Yeah.
about? An index? What is this? Is it a book?
Oh, yes. Thomas Guide is a book of maps. And usually it covers regions. It doesn't cover the entire United States. So you probably had to have like 5 of them things.
Yeah. If you're doing
like,
interstate travel, yeah.
Yeah.
If I open it up, I could see like all of California and Nevada, or can I only see LA County?
LA
Those
County,
Yeah, probably
San
LA. Yes, the
Gabriel
LA County one
Valley.
was huge.
Well, but they also had larger California maps with all of the
Those
main
things were
highways
encyclopedic,
and stuff.
like,
Oh, so it
Things were big.
changed. It changed from like scope to scope. I could buy one book of maps that was like multiple states, and then I could buy one book of maps that were like counties.
yeah,
Mhm.
you could buy. I think you could buy them by coordinates as well, for plot
Oh.
points and whatnot.
Oh,
Man,
okay.
I just realized I might know more about Thomas Guides than I
Bring the Thomas Guide back.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm sure they're still out there. People listen. The RVing community, the cross country folk.
Called
I
it
don't know
a
if that was-
community.
Oh yeah, they are. Definite community.
I like it. No, it's true. They would have
Um,
maps.
I'm sure they are not relying on technology, even though they have like Wi-Fi nowadays,
Mhm.
satellite phones. Satellite phones must be super affordable now. Like Jesus
Hey,
Christ.
Everyone
There's
has
there's a good reason why the Navy makes you learn a sextant. There's a good reason why the Army makes you learn how to read a map.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
well, when everything hits the fan, you're gonna have to know how to read a map, whether
Yeah.
you like it or not.
When shit
Makes
hits the
sense.
fan, there won't be electricity, folks. Just so you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mhm.
A lot of people think that there's just gonna be electricity everywhere.
But these
There
are
won't.
like these. So like if technology is our armor, David has said that he needed no armor. He dropped all the armor that was given to him.
It's because God was his armor.
Yeah.
God was the Thomas Guide.
Yeah.
God was his Thomas Guide.
That's right.
Yeah, it's spot on.
He got
That is
there.
spot on. But isn't this like when the hero throws everything away? This is part of the human's journey as a hero, right?
Mm. The denial of the call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which moves on to our next episode,
Yes, indeed.
The Hero's Journey.
Yeah.
which is a great episode about Cheetos.
Oh, it's so fun. I think we laughed through that entire episode for like 3 hours. It's quite the listen. And I've actually gone back to re-listen to it. Holds up. It's a pretty funny episode.
Yeah.
No, it's
a good
good.
time.
Definitely because Ben was here. Where's Ben at now?
I invited him. He's flaky.
He's
So-
binging Cobra Kai. I can guarantee you.
Oh yeah, he's probably watching
Brother
TV.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, if you're listening, you have the invite. Hop
yeah,
on.
he's so shy. I need to get him like an actual microphone. Maybe then he'll join.
I
us.
think we just need to get him really drunk.
Yeah,
You know-
there you go.
Got together and just just pound it like a 24 pack, we'd hop on a podcast.
You gotta jump on Instacart where he is, put in his zip code and his address, and just have him drop off booze at his door.
There you go. Exactly.
Oh man,
Have it
that'd be
all
good.
ready for him.
Free booze and a mic coming from Amazon on the same day. How could he say no?
Right?
Right?
There
Yeah,
is
sounds good.
there was one time I tried to time my DoorDash orders to pick up my own delivery. And it was free money from DoorDash. It was like a promotional, like, come back to us and be a customer.
No,
I tried to do it and did not work.
I bet
But-
it did not.
But
Those
that's the
GPS
Instacart
trackers,
thing
man.
we need to work for Ben. Yeah, oh God. That's the Instacart thing we need for Ben. That would work.
Yeah.
Wait, if
Oh,
you
it's
have
like-
an Instacart, can you deliver it to people outside your area?
Yeah,
Oh, I
you
could
can
totally
have
just.
stuff delivered to people. I don't think it's the
We
safest
should have
thing.
like.
It's where the store.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. You couldn't send something all the way up there to.
Like,
That's
got to
pretty
be very careful. But
Yeah.
I think if it's like, yeah, maybe not at such a distance. However, if it were like, say, you wanted to get one of your friends like on their birthday, something like that, I think that would work. Like
Mhm.
somebody maybe 20 miles, 30 miles away. That's not much. That's
Yeah.
that's only look in the areas we live in. That is that half an hour.
Hey, 15 minutes if you're going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
There you go.
85 you could do it at 18.
But no, this is we were talking about the hero's journey, right?
Mhm.
This is the episode where we constructed, we were alluding to it a little bit earlier, but we constructed a whole story around the idea of getting a bag of Cheetos. And we went through the various structural plot points that the hero's journey goes through for this. And it was a
Mhm.
really good time and a really good listen that now we're kind of spiraling out talking about in a Fibonacci sense, not in a downward spiral my life sort of sense. In a very positive way.
Right.
And
No,
then-
it was a fun episode.
Yeah, not to throw like not for me to like precognate my future or anything. I hope it's very positive. But after that, we went to precognition.
Mhm.
And we talked about some sort of minority report situation. So as not to interrogate you, Keelan, because I feel like I've been throwing a lot of questions to you, so I apologize.
No way. Is the light bright enough in my face? Hold on.
Wait, hold on. Do you
Stare
got
into his eyes.
here? Let me see it. You got a key light? Oh God, I'm distracted by your beanie. I'm distracted by the alien beanie. That's the Kanye beanie right there.
This is the Kanye beanie, indeed. It's I'm a couple of seasons out of style, but you know, still got it.
It'll always
Hey.
come back.
Yep. One, just
your
like
question-
those just like those tenor shades.
Oh God, I hope those Kanye shades never come back. The what do they call those? The
The
ventilators.
shutter.
The shutter shades. Yeah.
My bad. Not the stunner. The stunner is the cold. Is the Steve
Venetian.
Austin stunner. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, the Venetian shutter shade stunner.
Mhm. Jesus Christ.
I'm working on it. There's multiple threads in my brain. Should we send people to jail before they commit the crime?
Oh,
Because
no.
we know they're going to commit the crime. Or we think we know we're going to commit the crime.
That breaks down really fast.
Wow. See, here's the deal. I think the hard part is the beginning stages, right? You'd have to let a good portion of these crimes happen first in order for us to trust the process, in order to absolutely believe, like, because at a certain point, you're doing exactly what the movie started doing.
Mhm.
Start handpicking who the hell you want to lock up.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
fit a certain demographic. Oh, you have a certain behavior. You sneezed too hard last week. You know what? The last person who looked at their wife with that exact same look after dinner killed her. Now we got to
Is
come
it-
get you.
But it creates such a paradox, right? Because it's like you're arresting somebody for a crime they didn't commit, so therefore you're keeping them from committing the crime that you're arresting them for.
So why are you arresting them? And right, that's what I'm saying. It's like slippery slope.
Yeah.
I would agree. But now suppose you're on the opposite side of it and you've had multiple dreams where the thing that happened in your dream actually happened. And now you have the opportunity to prevent some sort of catastrophe. Would you tell people about the catastrophe? Would you not? Or would you sort of like shrug your shoulders like this may not actually happen. It was just a dream.
I just make sure I just send you guys a group text that says mountains. And you'll just know that it's time to leave.
I think at a certain point you have to ask, are you trying to play God in those moments? Like, are you trying to change the course of history? And are you doing it positively, negatively? I think it's awkwardly enough, it plays into the whole what superpower thing would you want?
Okay.
You know, because if you're a precog, you can predict the future and all of that goodness, but
it's like the worst one.
It's really just predicting possibilities. It's not predicting actual actions. That's impossible. There's too many possibilities.
Yeah, I think.
And would you? And it's the curse of knowing too. Would you want the curse of knowing?
Not
I
at
mean,
all.
my gosh.
If it's one thing I know, I don't want to know.
I mean, how would you like you would really only set out to do the things that you know you're going to succeed in, right?
Right.
Like, so you would almost live your life on a certain set of rails.
Sounds like failure to me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like unless you wanted to choose to do something that you knew was going to fail. I mean, some people do, but
no. I mean,
failure is success in this mind.
Without failure, exactly. Without failure, will you be really achieving success? This is because at a certain point, if you're only doing the things that you know are going to work, now there's this predetermined path laid out for you. There's nothing to work for.
Yeah.
You're not going to learn anything, so you're not going to attain anything, and now you're empty inside, and you live on top of a mountain with a glass house.
Yeah. Plus, surprises are nice. Sometimes. Sometimes. I needed to qualify that. There can be pleasant surprises. How about that?
Yeah. That one girl that was like, "Hey, I'm having your kid." I'm like, "Oh God, I gotta move countries."
Surprise!
My name. Yeah.
Not me.
Oh, I sound like a
Keelan. Like, not me. Well, you know, it's funny that we talk about precognition and like free will versus like determinism, because it gets back to the question we started with earlier, which was that like if you were creating a mini world, the sitting Buddha episode, you know, would you make it one that has step-by-step instructions on how to ascend, and I guess that would be kind of deterministic versus this like free will, you know,
true
surprise soup that we have. And I think we keep proving like, it's kind of nice the way things are right now. We don't know, and that's okay, because that is preferable to having like like everything just laid out. What fun is that?
The curse of Cassandra is a gift. Cassandra's someone I want to go into next year in 2022 when we talk about it. Hold on. By the way,
beware the Trojans bearing gifts.
Oh God, we missed Central Standard Time and Mountain Standard Time New Year.
F.
Oh, dang
F in the chat, because we're PST specific, man.
Yeah.
PST specific.
PST supremacists.
Yeah. happy New Year's to those time zones. But like Cassandra had the curse of predicting the future, but no one would believe her. And it was a curse given to her by Apollo. And we could dive into it we'll dive into it in 2022. But that's sort of the curse of the precog, where you're able to tell the future. You're able to tell everybody about it, but people may listen to you, but other people won't. And then that's like the question of the power that you want to have. And I think in most worlds, nobody would believe you. Like if you,
it also just kind of shows. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to make the joke. If somebody ran up to me and told me that hey, you knocked up that girl that you slept with tomorrow, I was gonna be like, what? No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm gonna sleep with somebody tomorrow. That'd be the
Right.
line of questioning.
Right. Of course. Yeah, and then you're tied. You tie yourself up in the knots, being like, okay, what is the thing that sets this chain reaction going? How do I, like, do I avoid it, and by avoiding it, it happens, or do I dive right into it and then it happens? Or like, is there any way out of that inevitability?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just end up driving yourself crazy.
Yeah, but there's this weird sort of going back to that divine intuition. There's like a gut feeling you get with certain or precog tendencies where it's like you feel like you know what's going to happen, but you do it anyways to make sure that that happens within like the reality of this space, right?
Mhm.
And I wonder if that's just sort of like witchcraft sort of shit, or but it ends up has been right for me more times than not, which is I don't know what to do with that knowledge.
Use it.
To like trust like the
Or lose it.
detective gut, like is it like the it's like I like to think of it as like the divine feminine intuition, or the detective's gut as it comes into like a masculine form.
Right.
So then do you always run with that?
Well, no, but it's how much do you trust yourself, right? Like any sense you have, you're gonna have to exercise it. Any muscle you have, you're gonna have to exercise it. So you have to trust yourself enough to know when to follow it and when to just unleash your side blast, Cyclops. Like don't hold
I
back.
gotcha. I gotcha.
I think there's also utility in anticipation, right? So,
Mhm.
even if the thing doesn't happen, are you worse off? Most of the time, I think you're at like sort of a net positive if you try to factor in the most outlandish thing you can think of.
Mhm.
So you're reading shadows.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
What
Or, I
happens?
mean, sometimes it's more concrete than that. So I don't know.
That's true. It's very true. But in the cases where it's not concrete, what happens when you find people in those shadows?
Hey.
Nice one.
Yeah,
This
our
one is a fun
episode.
one.
Yeah, our episode after precognition was shadow people, which I've had a chance to consult with occultists and various Wiccan witches and Wiccans. Both there's a delineation between the two, which I didn't fucking know about. But shadow people, sometimes it's a entity that is so close to our parallel universe that when the veil, like around full moons or around times where our veil kind of thins, they end up popping up into our universe and taking observations of us. And we
Mhm.
sometimes are shadow people into other universes. But our episode was centered around it. And I've had extensive experiences with shadow people throughout my life. And
Yeah.
it was a good fun episode. I really enjoyed researching it more. It should have scared me more, but it did not at all.
Really quick, do you mean people who do shadow work or actual shadow people?
Ah, the people that do shadow work are like I can see you, I can talk to you. You're within this realm. I'm talking about
Right.
actual shadow people, the
Okay.
kinds. So like the biggest experience I had, I was youngin. I was like between the ages of I want to say 9 and 12, with tolerance for error on the left side of the domain of my age. It was between the ages of 6 and 12, and so I'm sleeping there, and I used to sleep in my mom's living room. We didn't. It was a 1 bedroom apartment, and there's night lights everywhere. But one night I woke up, and all I saw was pitch black, and I felt hair drag down my face. And then I looked at it, and it popped back. And so I'm like, I'm here, and the thing is there, and my kitchen is probably like 30 feet that way. It jumps back to the wall, looks at me, and then goes into the kitchen to the right. And that's the kind of shadow people that I'm talking about.
Oh no, I fully understood. I just wanted to differentiate in uh, the experience with the physical people and that part.
Yeah, shadow work people are like shamans or
Right,
that
right.
that that aesthetic class of humans.
hmm I'm like, as far as actual shadow people. Oh, you didn't trust me.
No, I just wanted to make it. I'm sorry if I over explained. I do that all the
No,
time.
not at all. Hey,
But
somebody out there probably needed to know because I know we all know like Israel.
yeah, but the humans that do shadow work are the type of people that dive into their unconscious to figure things out for themselves and for you.
Exactly.
So that's
Some of
that's
the
the
greatest people
divination.
I've ever met too.
The
Just
shadow people are
good
just
people.
Same here.
demons that haunt your soul.
Yeah. Now those are not people, and be very, very careful.
Those are my friends, sir.
Don't shake hands with
They
them.
would. Those are the heads that pop in around like the door corner, like this. Sorry, wrong way. Like this.
Mhm.
They're like looking at you, and all you see
Looking
is
like
the shadow
Shinigami.
figure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
out of the corner of your eye.
Yep. They may not even take the form of people. They can collect as shadows in the corners of your room, where it's explicitly darker than everything else in your room. We built on the notion that they fed on our theta waves. That like maybe the idea that like why we don't remember our dreams, or maybe don't remember our nightmares at times, is because they're eating them. But
Mhm.
I think they are at the end of the day harmless, because like in my story she could have, or I take it as a she for the long hair, but that shadow person could have did anything, but what they chose to do was retreat and then leave.
Hmm. Fair enough. If there's any
I like the
done
idea
with
of
that,
like dimensional blurring
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, I'm big into that. Like it's like something that I'm hopeful that they're not like malevolent beings, that they're benevolent, but sometimes too they can be jinn, and the jinn is something that we approached in the next episode after Shadow People.
Hey.
Do you remember? Hey,
Yeah, I do. That was a fun episode. I think we talked about Solomon a little bit,
yeah,
summoning demons and that demonology. I think we did tie it a little bit to like the fifth dimensional space being some sort of intermediary, or maybe like a fallen angel or something like that. Yeah, it was cool. I would like to maybe read 1001 Nights or whatever it's called, by Hammurabi, and actually get some more of the lore, because I remember I did read like certain stories, but there's lots of stories about Jinn, and it would be interesting to hear more about them.
yeah,
But yeah, they're kind of like the monkey's paw, almost. Like the wishes that you can make, but most of the time they don't work in your favor. They're always kind of a backfire wish.
yeah.
Um,
if you're a fan of '90s cult film, you have Wishmaster, the Wishmaster series. That was all about the jinn. I've actually have a few friends that are either of Sufi faith or similar faiths that believe in jinn. So the
mhm.
jinn are like, so instead of imagine that God just created humans, God created something beforehand. But after creating this beforehand thing that's called the jinn, created humans, and God loved humans the most. And the
Mm.
jinn couldn't accept that. The jinn felt like that they should be most beloved within God's eyes. So the jinn would do anything to harm humans. And then that's
Mhm.
sort of the relationship that the jinn and humans have now, but they exist within our world, and they are what we know as interdimensional beings. But I've heard stories about flies filling apartment rooms, which if you're of the more Christian faith, I believe it's Basilbub, the
Mhm.
Lord of Flies.
Yep.
the demon flies that comes in, and once they had a proper purification ritual within the Sufi tradition, the flies went away, vanished, didn't die. It's not like they had to like sweep up a bunch of fucking flies off their kitchen floor. They just vanished.
Yeah.
So
They did say what that jinn tended to live in really fetid areas like swamps or caves with a lot of decomposition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
enjoyed the death of it all, so to
Right.
speak. Almost like alchemists.
Mm.
Jinn. I mean, I enjoy the lore of Jinn, but I read a lot. I see so much different stuff, and especially like I fall down these rabbit holes when it comes to the mystical, so to speak. But I don't really find it as mystical. I find it as information on different levels that, again, you have to figure out the vocabulary to understand.
Welcome home. Welcome to Exofathom.
You know what I mean? So with Jinn, I always think about alchemists. I think about Set, and just her feelings towards humans in general, or his feelings, however you want to call that. But anyway, Set's a woman in the lore. I understand it the way I understand it. So if Set were to have children and those children believed in alchemy, those children would be Jinn.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, it makes some of these things just like you could even call them Nephilim, right? Yeah. Like to a level. Like, so I think there's a lot of different ways to understand it. I always want, what I really wonder is how are so many things so close in reality? And there's so many questions that lead us back to the same spot. Like,
yeah, the Greeks had a certain class of demigods called, I believe they were called like the Oniries or something. Oniries. And next week episode, we're going to talk about the Dream Man and certain characters in mythology that are referred, or that are sort of like the dominion or the masters of dreams. But the Jinn were very similar to the Oniries in Greek mythology, where they're sort of like born from the primordial chaos, kind of like a parallel species to humans, but loved to antagonize humans.
Like if a human's able to get to
because of that jealousy.
Yeah, that's bestowed upon them from who created them and what created them. Now, and that's why, like, I feel it's crazy how all of like we're all saying it from different angles, right? But it's the exact same thing, and it's like, wow, how? That is crazy.
No, my more scientific mind wants to argue, like it's just sort of myth, but I wouldn't be surprised if science is lagging and we find out these things exist and they would not like humans, right? Like if we were granted all of God's grace and free will and they were not, isn't that an advantage that we have that they don't, that they would want to like break us?
Right. And if they were locked away, why would they be locked away to please us if we were to find them? To serve us even more so. Nah.
Yeah. It becomes very difficult to ponder.
It does.
So I think we're coming up to our limit for a certain episode, for one episode, are we not?
Yeah,
So,
we're getting there.
We have 28 minutes and 16 seconds until midnight.
Well, the recording though too is gonna start yelling at me in about 2 minutes.
So
Oh.
are we good at I don't know the rules for recording.
Mike, why don't you choose like one that you wanted to highlight out of the rest? I mean,
you just want to end it all tonight. I was thinking about just taking a break and then coming back to it.
Oh yeah,
like
we can do that too.
Like taking a 15-minute or 20-minute break, because I kind of like the idea that since it's New Year's Eve, just to kind of like roll the party all the way through, and we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
17.
17 more topics.
Nick's counting. I did the math. If we did one every minute and a half,
we're not
be done at midnight.
We're not.
No. Well, I'm sure Keelan needs to go do his stuff too. We don't want to keep him for the entire time. So yeah, we can wrap it up and
Love is love, man.
we appreciate you,
Yeah,
man. Thanks for coming on. We really
I
do
appreciate you guys for having me.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But if we all want to take a break, Keelan, if you want to come back, if not, it's all good.
I
Mhm.
And
appreciate
then
you
we
guys.
can take 10, 15 minutes intermission and then come back.
Yep. Sounds good. Well, we will return with you guys shortly, and stay tuned.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah.